Chapter 1957. After everyone had finished eating and drinking, they walked back from the restaurant in the front yard. Emperor Yi was curious and wanted to see how Yi Qinghan was doing. When he pushed the door open and entered, his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. The scene in the room was extremely funny. Fan Yin was practically naked. She was hugging Yi Qinghan's long leg and gnawing on it as if she was hugging a pig's trotter. Yi Qinghan was groggy. His body temperature had dropped a lot, but he didn't feel anything. "How is master?" Lin Wuxian walked over and asked. Emperor Yi was shocked and quickly stopped him. "Don't come over." Senior Fan Yin ran to the wrong room. "She's also in this room. You go rest first. I'll bring her back to her room." Lin Wuxian was speechless. He couldn't imagine what Fan Yin would do when she woke up and saw that scene. He didn't dare to imagine it, so he turned and left. Emperor Yi closed the door and hurriedly took out his own clothes and draped them over Fan Yin's body. He wanted to pull her away from Yi Qinghan, but she hugged his thigh tightly and was unwilling to let go. "Don't touch me. Don't touch my baby." Fan Yin impatiently swung her left hand, trying to push Emperor Yi's arm away. Emperor Yi took a step back, afraid that Fan Yin would kill him in her drunken stupor. But when he saw Fan Yin grab Yi Qinghan's little brother with her left hand, he didn't know what she thought it was. She opened her mouth and bit it. Emperor Yi was shocked. If she bit it off, then he would be a widow for the rest of his life. How could he let her have her way? He immediately rushed forward to protect the dragon's root, and shouted loudly, "Senior Sister Fan Yin, have you gone mad? Wake up! You're in the wrong room. Look at what you're holding in your hand." Fan Yin opened her sleepy eyes and looked at the thing in her hand, then looked around. She jumped 3 feet high and immediately woke up. She grabbed the jacket Emperor Yi had put on her and was about to explode in anger. "Senior Fan Yin, don't be angry. Look at the room you're in. Is it yours? You're in the wrong room. You were the one who took off your own clothes. I don't even know if you were the one who took off his clothes. He doesn't feel anything right now. If you get angry at him, he'll really be wronged to death." Emperor Yi hurriedly explained. Only then did Fan Yin react. With an embarrassed expression, he looked at the layout of the room and said awkwardly, "Did I enter the wrong room? No one else knows that I entered his room, right? No one else has seen my body, right?" Emperor Yi was speechless. He took out a piece of clothing and covered Yi Qinghan's body. "Wuxian knows that you came in, but he doesn't know what happened. Only I saw it, so don't worry. I didn't put that thing in my mouth, did I?" Fan Yin recalled the events of the dream and looked at Yi Qinghan's majestic little brother. She couldn't help but feel a chill run down her spine. Her entire body trembled as she hurriedly asked. Emperor Yi wasn't sure if Fan Yin had put that thing in her mouth before he came. However, he didn't dare to anger Fan Yin. He said with certainty, "No, I stopped it in time." Fan Yin immediately heaved a sigh of relief. She held Emperor Yi's hand and said, "You're really my sister. If I had put that thing in my mouth, I wouldn't be able to live for the rest of my life." Emperor Yi smiled bitterly. How was this thinking for her? He was afraid that she would bite it off and he would become a widow. Although Yi Qinghan could refine his body again, that would be a shadow for the rest of his life. "Sister, as long as you're happy," Emperor Yi said against his will. Fan Yin laughed awkwardly. She shrank her head and said, "Good sister, you can't tell anyone about what happened today, especially not to Yi Qinghan, that bastard." With that, Fan Yin took advantage of the darkness to escape from Yi Qinghan's room. Emperor Yi watched Fan Yin leave the room. He sighed and shook his head. Then, he squatted down and put on Yi Qinghan's clothes. Using his divine power, he carried him to his room and threw him onto the bed. He scolded in a tender voice, "This little thing, how big of a trouble did he cause? Yi Qinghan was also unlucky. He was so drunk that he didn't feel anything. However, he enjoyed a comical romantic encounter. It was a pity that he couldn't feel it. However, his body was indeed stronger than others. If it were someone else who drank a jar of drunken immortal wine, even if they didn't die, they would be crippled. However, the next morning, although he had a splitting headache, he was still awake. He looked at Emperor Yi beside him and immediately turned over to press him into his arms. His face was full of impulsive desire. Don't. This is no small matter. My father in this life is not an ordinary person. If you want to get on the bus first and then buy the ticket later, he will beat you to a pulp. Emperor Yi hurriedly stopped him. Yi Qinghan was emboldened by the wine. That kind of desire was very strong. How could he endure it? However, seeing that Emperor Yi was unwilling, he could only grit his teeth and bear with it. Emperor Yi hurriedly reached out to comfort his big darling. He reminded him, "Husband, don't provoke senior sister Fan Yin. Otherwise, you won't have a good time." Yi Qinghan was puzzled and asked, "Why? I didn't offend her." "It's better if you don't know. Anyway, listen to me. It's best if you stay away from her. Don't let her find a reason to flip out. I'm doing this for your own good." Emperor Yi faintly reminded him. Yi Qinghan smiled and didn't say anything else. He reached out and hugged the little beauty in his arms. His large hand reached into her clothes and kneaded her huge breasts, causing Emperor Yi to pant. However, not long after, Fan Yin shouted from outside, "Yi Qinghan, get out here. I have something important to discuss with you today." Yi Qinghan was helpless. He could only reluctantly let go of Emperor Yi. He put on his clothes and walked out. Emperor Yi was worried that Fan Yin would explode, so he followed him out. There was a pavilion in the courtyard. Fan Yin was already sitting on a stone stool inside. She acted as if nothing had happened. Yi Qinghan walked over and asked in a muffled voice, "Senior sister, how did I offend you again?" When Fan Yin heard Yi Qinghan's words, anger rose from the bottom of her heart. She couldn't wait to beat up Yi Qinghan. However, when she saw Emperor Yi coming over, she had to endure it. "I want to talk to you about the immortal elixir. In short, you can't send the immortal elixir to the martial Tao True Monarch Holy Lands. If you don't believe me, you can ask the true inheriting disciples of other holy lands. If that old man from Wu clan gets the right to use an immortal elixir, he will definitely not give it to your little wife. You're dreaming. Wu clan's true inheriting disciples represent his inheritance. If he has the opportunity to train his true inheriting disciples into eternal sovereigns, do you think he will give it up?" Fan Yin reminded him in a deep voice. Yi Qinghan frowned and asked, "The eternal sovereign behind me can't help me refine the immortal elixir for the time being. I have to find an eternal sovereign to help me refine the immortal elixir." Fan Yin spoke up impatiently, "Are you stupid? You're now a member of my Transcending Heaven school. If I go to my old man and ask him to refine the eternal elixir, will he charge you an extra one?" Yi Qinghan curled his lips and replied in a speechless manner, "I don't know him. How would I know? This is an eternal immortal elixir, not some random elixir. I have to be careful. Do you believe your senior sister?" Fan Yin patted her chest and asked. Yi Qinghan rolled his eyes and asked, "Can I believe you?" Chapter 1958. Yi Qinghan's rhetorical question stumped Fan Yin. How long had they known each other? If she wanted to rely on the two secret techniques in the immortal text to convince him, then it would be too easy. Fan Yin stared at Yi Qinghan with wide eyes, but he didn't back down. "Senior apprentice sister, it's not that I don't believe you, but you know the value of eternal pills better than I do. This thing is not a bet. I have to keep 2 or 3 immortal pills in my hands. Dawn is one of my people, at least half of it. Our crazy sect only has 1 immortal pill, and only 1 is left. I have to get it back to the crazy sect and let my beloved wife and son take it, or let me take it. At the very least, it has to be someone trustworthy like Emperor Feng, right? Yi Qinghan explained. I found that you, kid, have a really big taste. You can't wait to take all the good things to your crazy sect. Fan Yin spoke up with anger. He, senior apprentice sister knows me best. Yi Qinghan spoke with a flattering smile. Okay, I don't want to talk nonsense with you. I'll go back and ask my old man, and then come find you. Fan Yin impatiently waved her hand and reprimanded. Then, many thanks, senior apprentice sister. When I become rich in the future, I will definitely show my filial piety to you. Yi Qinghan still had that flattering smile on his face, which made Fan Yin even angrier. But at this moment, a crisp knock came from outside the door. Sirs inside, 2 elders from the Siddha clan have come. They say they want to invite all of you over for a meal as a show of hospitality. I wonder if you'll be going or not. A female voice came from outside the door. It should be a servant girl from the Immortal Intoxication residence. Fan Yin stretched and sighed, it's really annoying. Every time they come to invite me, I think I've already refused twice. As the saying goes, you can't do it more than 3 times. If I refuse again, it would be a bit unreasonable. Fan Yin muttered to herself, then turned to Yi Qinghan and said, Go and reply to them. Tell them to make the arrangements tomorrow. I have to rush back. Now that Yi Qinghan had gained some benefits, he naturally did not have to worry about running errands. He got up and walked to the gate of the courtyard. When he opened the door, he saw a servant girl and 2 old men behind her. They were all upper-level masters, but they kept a low profile, as if they were afraid of Fan Yin. Yi Qinghan looked at the 2 elders, cupped his fists, and bowed slightly. Greetings, seniors. My senior sister has asked you to prepare. You can do it tomorrow. The 2 old men outside the door were overjoyed. They cupped their fists and said, Thank you, little brother. Please bring the others with you tomorrow. My Situ family will definitely be honored. Yi Qinghan thanked him profusely. After all, the Situ clan was one of the 100 great clans. Since they had already said so much, wouldn't it be disrespectful if he didn't go? Maybe the small gift from the Siddha clan would be enough to feed the Kuang sect for a few years. After sending off the 2 from the Siddha clan, the son of war came over with Zhang Jiuxiao before the door was closed. Sect Master Yi, did you drink to your heart's content yesterday? Why don't I treat you to a meal this afternoon? Let's find a restaurant with a unique style and have a drink. The son of war said with a smile. Yi Qinghan smiled. The son of war had saved several lives of the Kuang sect. How could he not give him face? He quickly said, Brother Zhan is too polite. I should treat you to a meal to express my gratitude for your help at Shuijia Pass. I hope Brother Zhan will give me some face. Ha ha ha, Sect Master Yi is too polite. After all, my Zhan family has a share of the celestial elixir. If we lose it, we will be at a disadvantage. But since Sect Master Yi said so, let's have a meal together. I am the host here. I know many places that are not inferior to the Drunken Immortal House. The son of war was very forthright. The people of the war clan were like this. They were never polite to their enemies and were never stingy to their friends. Yi Qinghan was full of smiles. He was naturally happy to make friends with people like the son of war. However, there were still many people in the room. He asked, Brother Zhan, should we call senior sister Fan Yin? The son of war heard this and quickly waved his hand. He whispered, Please don't. This woman is crazy after drinking. She loves to brag. The key is that she is too strong. None of us can control her. This meal will be just the 3 of us. You and Jiuxiao have met before. We are all acquaintances. It is convenient to eat together. Yi Qinghan did not see Fan Yin's drunken and boastful look last night. Otherwise, it would have been fresh in his mind. Hearing the Son of War's words, he quietly closed the door and left the courtyard with the Son of War. It was a good opportunity to lie low for a while. Fan Yin had indeed been looking for trouble with Yi Qinghan recently. It was just that she had not found a good reason. When they reached the front yard of the drunken immortal residence, Yi Qinghan said to a manager, "Give me 3 jars of drunken immortal wine. I will pack it up and take it away. Put the bill on Fan Yin's head. I am her junior brother. We came together yesterday. You have met before." The manager's mouth twitched. Thinking of the manager who was beaten up by Fan Yin yesterday, he trembled. He did not dare to ask any more questions and took out 3 jars of drunken immortal wine. Yi Qinghan took the 3 jars of drunken immortal wine and handed one to the Son of War and Zhang Jiuxiao. The 3 of them quickly left the drunken immortal residence. On the main road of Shuejia Pass, there were many pedestrians. They were all unfamiliar faces. Most of the people did not know each other. They were all from different places. The outside world was so vast. Even a saint like Zhang Jiuxiao, who had shown his face in public, was not recognized by many people, let alone Yi Qinghan and the true disciple, the Son of War. The Son of War probed, "Sect Master Yi, you seem to have offended Xia Jiulong." Yi Qinghan rolled his eyes and snorted, "I did not offend him. He offended me. I just entered the Holy Empire and he threw me into the heaven-sealing prison. How could our relationship be good?" The Son of War and Zhang Jiuxiao looked at each other. In the world, only Yi Qinghan would dare to say that Xia Jiulong had offended them. But he didn't get anything out of it. "He offended me, so I took Feng Huang out of the prison. We're even now, but he seems to have his eyes on me." Yi Qinghan shrugged and told them about their feud. "Brother Ye's temper is to my liking. Ha ha ha. Interesting. All these years, the core disciples have been quite harmonious. Everyone gives Xia Jiulong face. Xia Jiulong doesn't want to compare himself with younger core disciples like us, so there hasn't been a battle between legendary experts. You, on the other hand, fought him as soon as you advanced to the legendary level," the Son of War whispered with a laugh. "I'll definitely fight him more than once. As long as he doesn't reach the upper level, he won't be able to kill me," Yi Qinghan said confidently. The Son of War shook his head and reminded him, "Don't underestimate him. He was the strongest person at the same level back then. He wasn't joking around. 2 days ago, when he fought you, he only used 10% of his power. He didn't even use his true profound. I advise you to avoid him before you reach the next level." Yi Qinghan wasn't going to admit defeat, but he knew the Son of War had good intentions. He didn't say anything more about Xia Jiulong. The 3 of them walked along the official road. The road was connected in all directions, and there were restaurants and inns everywhere. After all, this was where all the holy lands intersected. People came from the south and went north, and they all came here to replenish their supplies. So, this was the busiest business district. But when there were too many people, there was bound to be conflict. When Yi Qinghan and the Son of War reached a crossroad, they heard the sound of an argument coming from the crowd. Many people were pointing and talking, as if they were angry. Yi Qinghan didn't want to be a busybody. After all, he still had the immortal medicine. But for some reason, he subconsciously walked toward the crowd to see what was going on. Chapter 1959. At the crossroad, there were many people around. They were all pointing and gossiping, but they didn't dare to say anything. There was a little girl in the crowd. Her face was white and her skin was smooth. She looked like she was only 14 or 15 years old. She hadn't even developed, but her cultivation was at the 7th or 8th level of the Sector Lord realm. In terms of talent, this little girl should be considered top grade. At this moment, the little girl's big watery eyes stared at the few youths in front of her. She pouted and said, "Go away. I don't even know you guys." "What do you mean you don't know us? How dare you steal my chessboard? Are you tired of living? Be careful that I don't sell you to the brothel today." The leading youth scolded angrily. Looking at his expression, it seemed like something was really stolen. "That's my chessboard. You're spouting nonsense." The little girl kept retreating, but the surrounding people blocked her path of retreat. "How can a little kid like you have such a high-grade chessboard? That's the star chessboard passed down from my ancestors. It's a mid-grade saint artifact. Quickly give it to me and I won't pursue the matter." The youth stretched out his hand and demanded. Yi Qinghan, who was standing at the periphery, was suddenly stunned. Star chessboard, this name was too familiar. Scram! Yi Qinghan forcefully pushed the crowd away. Some people wanted to turn around and scold him, but he slapped them in the face. Although he didn't use much strength, it was enough to make them dizzy. They retreated to the side in a daze. The son of battle looked curiously at Yi Qinghan and walked over. Yi Qinghan saw the little girl in the crowd and frowned. He felt that she was very familiar. She looked like Lin Shui, who he sealed. However, Lin Shui was only 8 or 9 years old then. Now, she was already a young lady. Her overall appearance had changed a lot, but the outline was still there. Plus the star chessboard mentioned by the youth, he was basically 60 to 70% sure. "You are Lin Shui?" Yi Qinghan raised his brows and asked. Shui Lin had changed a lot, but Yi Qinghan had not changed much. At most, he had become 30% stronger, and his aura had increased by 30%. Therefore, she recognized Yi Qinghan at a glance. Wah! Lin Shui had wandered the great world for 1,000 years. Because of her bloodline, her growth was not obvious. Her heart was still very pure. When she saw Yi Qinghan, it was like seeing a long-lost relative. She threw herself at him and burst into tears. At this moment, Yi Qinghan was even more certain. He hurriedly comforted her, "Don't cry. Didn't I seal you in the 9 continents divine dragon cauldron? Why did he leave that place?" "Uncle, I just suddenly woke up. I didn't know anyone there, so I left. I entered the big world and walked for a long time, but I couldn't find you." "Boo-hoo. So many people bullied me," Shui Lin said while wiping her tears. At this time, the reckless young man interrupted the two of them and said coldly, "Since you are her guardian, then it's easy to deal with her. She stole my chessboard. You tell me how to deal with her." Yi Qinghan patted Shui Lin's head and licked his lips. He looked at the young man with an evil smile. Judging by his clothes, he should be from a powerful sect. He was in the middle level, and there were a few people in the lower level with him. It could be said that he had strength in numbers and was very powerful. They are from the Tian Luo sect, one of the top 3,000 sections. This guy is Hu Tianming, who is ranked 3rd among the younger generation of the Tian Luo sect. Zhang Jiuxiao said secretly. Yi Qinghan nodded silently. He stared at Hu Tianming and said, "Are you sure that my girl stole your chessboard?" "Very sure. The people around me are all witnesses. As for the evidence, it is in her arms," Hu Tianming said in a deep voice. "Humph," Yi Qinghan snorted and glanced at the chessboard in Shui Lin's arms. That was not a middle-level sacred weapon. It was definitely an eternal sacred weapon. It was just that it had not been awakened. Once it was awakened, it could even flatten Shuijia Pass. "Gotcha." Yi Qinghan clenched his fist and loosened it silently. He said coldly, "Get lost. I won't argue with you. Hey, kid, don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you are in the middle level. This is Shuijia Pass. It's not a place for you to behave atrociously. Give me the chessboard and I won't argue with you." Hu Tianming stepped forward aggressively and reached out to grab Shui Lin. Slap. Boom. Yi Qinghan moved like lightning and slapped Hu Tianming's face. He directly smashed Hu Tianming through the stone floor and into the deep pit. Buzz. Hu Tianming's mind was in a daze. He could not hear anything. His eyes were filled with stars and he could not feel anything. After a long time, his body was still twitching. How dare you? You dare to do this to the third senior brother of the Tian Luo sect. You despicable person. You allowed the younger generation to steal our sect's treasure and you even sneak attacked. Do you not put the Tian Luo sect in your eyes? The few lower-level youths beside Hu Tianming did not dare to make a move. They all shouted angrily, hoping to scare Yi Qinghan away with their sects behind them. At this time, those who were watching the show all stayed far away and discussed. They naturally knew the power of a strong sect. Offending a strong sect would not end well. Yi Qinghan was just about to kill this group of scum when the Son of War quickly said, "Let Zhou deal with it. They probably don't know me. It's beneath me to argue with this group of kids." Yi Qinghan also did not want to start a massacre in the city, so he nodded and agreed. The Son of War quickly signaled Zhang Zhouxiao, who was standing far away. Zhang Zhouxiao jogged over and asked, "Big brother, what's the matter?" "Deal with this place and find us at Yunduan Tower later," the Son of War said calmly. "Yes, big brother, don't worry. I promise to deal with it properly," Zhang Zhouxiao quickly replied. He did not have the prestige of a saint. However, with so many people gathered here, there were bound to be people who were more knowledgeable. Suddenly, someone shouted, "That person is the Battle Clan's holy son, Zhang Zhouxiao." Fuck, he actually became the lackey of those two. I didn't even dare to recognize him. The moment this was said, the situation was instantly messed up. However, Yi Qinghan and the Son of War had already left with Lin Shui. Only Zhang Zhouxiao was left to deal with the aftermath. The Tian Luo sect disciples were pale as they looked at Zhang Zhouxiao. After a moment of careful observation, they realized that Zhang Zhouxiao's identity was really that of a saint. However, the saint had actually become the one to deal with the aftermath. Then who were the two that left? You really are the battle tribe saint. A young man trembled as he asked in fear. Humph. Zhang Zhouxiao snorted coldly, "You guys are really looking for death. How dare you bully our Zhang family? Do you want our Zhang family's ancestral weapon to be given to your Tian Luo sect?" Plop, the few lower realms were so scared that they knelt on the ground. They kept kowtowing and begging, "Sir Saint, please spare our lives. We didn't know that they were from your Zhang family. You can bully them just because they're not from the Zhang family. Let me tell you the truth. That little girl and her elders are not from my Zhang family. Why don't you tell everyone that the chessboard really belongs to your Tian Luo sect? Let's make things clear. Don't say that I used my identity to bully your Tian Luo sect," Zhang Zhouxiao said coldly. Hu Tianming was dizzy from Yi Qinghan's beating. He crawled out of the pit with a face full of anger. Before he could see Zhang Zhouxiao's face, he roared, "How dare you sneak attack me? I'll kill you today." Pa! Boom! Zhang Zhouxiao used some of his god power and smashed Hu Tianming into the pit again. Hu Tianming did not even have the chance to breathe before he fainted. Chapter 1960. After Zhang Zhouxiao knocked Hu Tianming out, he remembered that he had to reveal the truth. Otherwise, people would think that the war race was bullying others. Bang! Slap slap slap. Zhang Zhouxiao lifted Hu Tianming out of the pit and smashed him on the ground, giving him a few slaps. Hu Tianming woke up in a daze. He opened his eyes and realized that it was the war race's holy son, Zhang Zhouxiao. The two of them didn't have much interaction, they just knew each other. "Hu Tianming, I won't beat around the bush. Say it clearly in front of everyone. Did that little girl really steal your chessboard? Don't lie. Otherwise, I'll get your master to personally come and explain it to me. Zhang Zhouxiao warned coldly. Hu Tianming was a little confused. He didn't know the relationship between Zhang Zhouxiao and the three people who just left. But the two slaps were very painful. He was slapped in front of everyone. Obviously, he had lost all his face. What does this have to do with you? Is that girl from your Zhang family? Hu Tianming asked in a muffled voice. Don't talk nonsense with me. That girl isn't from my war race. But the youth beside her elder is my big brother, the war race's son of war. You insulted the brother of my war race's son of war, which is the same as insulting the war race's son of war. Tell everyone now whether that girl stole your chessboard or not. This involves the honor of my war race. If you dare to frame her, I'm afraid your Heaven Luo sect won't be able to handle it. Zhang Zhouxiao scolded angrily. Hu Tianming was drenched in cold sweat. He finally knew fear. He opened his mouth a few times to explain, but he didn't dare to speak carelessly. What? You want to tell everyone that my war race's son of war's brother is a sneaky person? As the saying goes, birds of a feather flock together. Is my big brother that kind of person? Zhang Zhouxiao sneered. Hu Tianming trembled. Insulting a true disciple of a sacred ground, even if he had 9 lives, it wouldn't be enough. He hurriedly knelt on the ground and explained in fear, Brother Holy Son, I was blind. I saw wrongly. The chessboard in that girl's arms isn't mine. I misunderstood her. You have to apologize for me. I'm willing to compensate. In the southwest of the Shuijia Pass, there was a swamp. A few luxurious villages were surrounded by rivers. This was a famous water manor in the Shuijia Pass. Willow branches hung down from both sides of the river, making it look like a fairyland. Spirit herbs were planted everywhere, and their fragrance assailed the nostrils. Some boats were drifting in the river, and occasionally, spirit birds would soar into the air, chirping endlessly. On a small boat, Yi Qinghan and the son of war stood side by side. Their black hair fluttered in the wind. Xue Lin was already asleep on the boat. This place is rich in snowy arowana, a famous celestial fish. Its meat is delicate, fat but not greasy. Eating a single fish is equivalent to cultivating for 100 years. Even if we eat it, we will still have a rich aftertaste. The son of war stood at the bow of the ship, controlling the wind to steer the ship. There were only 2 people on the ship. They were handsome and had an extraordinary temperament. Yi Qinghan stood at the side, looking at the snowy arowana jumping out of the water. The big ones were half a meter long, and the small ones were the length of chopsticks. At a rough glance, they really did look like dragons. He didn't expect this kind of fish to have such an effect. I'm really ignorant. I've never heard of such a good thing before. Yi Qinghan sighed. Ha ha, brother Yi, it's because you haven't been here for long. Later, I will bring you to Yunduan restaurant to see their culinary skills. It will definitely make you forget your home. The son of war laughed. Yi Qinghan smiled. He knew that the son of war must have something to discuss with him in such a quiet place. He asked, Brother War, you didn't call me here today just to treat me to a meal of snowy arowana, right? The son of war smiled, Brother Yi is a smart man. I will not beat around the bush. With that, the small boat sped into the lake. There was no one around, not even a boat. This is a good place to chat. The son of war stopped the ship and sat at the bow. He took out a map and spread it on a small table. He pointed at a mountain range on the map and said, This is the most dangerous mountain range in the outside world, called Coiling Dragon Mountain. It's also the entrance to the Coiling Dragon secret domain. This Coiling Dragon secret domain is not one of the 10 great secret domains, but a place where true disciples and top geniuses gather. Many experts of the older generation of powerful sects will enter this place to explore in search of immortal medicines and top-grade materials for forging divine weapons. There are vicious creatures here whose battle prowess is close to that of eternal sovereigns. Even Xia Jiolong wouldn't dare say he could come out alive if he encountered one. However, the danger is often proportional to the profit. There are also herbs here that are not inferior to the immortal medicines in your possession, but they are too rare. Yi Qinghan looked at the Son of War and asked with a frown, Brother War, as the Son of War, you should know many of the true disciples of the major holy lands. Why did you choose me? My cultivation level is definitely not your ideal target. The Son of War smiled. In terms of cultivation, I am surrounded by people who are stronger than you. Not to mention the other holy lands, even in my war clan, there are plenty of top experts of the previous generation who are stronger than me. If I want to find a helper, any one of them will do. However, I don't want a helper, but a partner. A person with a strong destiny. You are the best candidate. When it came to destiny, Yi Qinghan was very confident. He said indifferently, Brother War is right. My luck is also very good. Of course, my divine pet also says that I am a jinx. Wherever I go, bad luck will follow. If you are not afraid, we can cooperate. I have already explored hell, let alone Coiling Dragon Mountain. The Son of War smiled and shook his head. Hell is often not the most terrifying place. As long as the Eternal Sovereign doesn't take action, I can also roam everywhere. However, Coiling Dragon Mountain is different. Those ferocious creatures do not care about feelings. As long as you encounter one, you either kill it or be killed. There is no other choice. No problem. If I was afraid of death, I wouldn't have come this far. I also wouldn't have offended Xia Jiolong, Yi Qinghan said confidently. I really didn't misjudge you. Then it's settled. After you deal with the immortal herbs, just you and me will not bring anyone else. Especially senior sister Fanine. You must not tell her. She will ruin everything, the Son of War reminded. Yi Qinghan nodded. Then, he suddenly recalled the man who had been tied up in the ceiling heaven prison. He probed, Brother Jean, you're very experienced and knowledgeable. Do you know if there's anyone in this world who has the star mark and is surrounded by 9 stars? The Son of War thought for a moment and shook his head. I haven't heard of it. Why? Have you seen it before? Yi Qinghan immediately shook his head and replied, No, I am just curious. The world is so big and there are so many strange things. I just want to see if there is anyone who has the sun, moon, and stars in a 9-star alignment in their body. At this moment, Zhang Jiuxiao rushed over on a wooden boat alone. The two looked at each other and smiled. They steered the boat towards the shore. Chapter 1961. Yi Qinghan and the Son of War rode the wind and waves. The boat was like lightning as it sailed across the water and reached the shore in the blink of an eye. Zhang Jiuxiao also caught up and said with a smile, Big brother, Brother Yi, the matter over there has been settled. Sorry to trouble you, Brother Jiuxiao. Yi Qinghan bowed slightly. The Son of War only nodded slightly and stepped onto the shore. Yi Qinghan went into the cabin and woke Lin Shui up. After so many years of mental exhaustion, Lin Shui could be said to have suffered all kinds of torture. She slept very well and was much more relaxed. Perhaps staying by Yi Qinghan's side was the safest. She did not have any psychological burden. Little Shui, put your star chessboard in your mind. Do not take it out unless you have no other choice. Yi Qinghan reminded her. Lin Shui heard and quickly hid the star chessboard. She nodded like a chick pecking at rice. The 4 of them quickly walked towards the village. The Water Manor was not an ordinary village. The stone roads extended in all directions. The village was also very luxurious and had a rural feel to it. Yunduan Restaurant was located in the center of the Water Manor. There were many small restaurants around Yunduan restaurant. Many people could not afford the food in Yunduan restaurant and would eat snowy arowana in the other restaurants in the village. Although the ingredients were the same, the taste was completely different. The son of war was very familiar with this place. It looked like he had been here many times. The three of them followed closely behind. After entering Yunduan restaurant, they smelled a refreshing fragrance. Their pores seemed to have exploded. Yunduan restaurant had a total of 3 floors. There were no private rooms. Everyone was in the main hall. The rooms were arranged in a triangular shape. Sitting on the 3rd floor, not only could they see the 1st and 2nd floors, but they could also see the entire water manor. Eating snowy arowana here was like standing there. "Let's go to the 3rd floor," the son of war said lightly. The 3 of them followed. Tap tap tap, the 4 of them stepped onto the 3rd floor. The entire main hall came into view. However, the son of war and Yi Qing Han were suddenly stunned. They could not help but clench their fists. Their battle strength quickly recovered as they focused on the table by the window. Xia Jiulong and Xian Xiu were also in Yunduan restaurant. Several pairs of eyes looked at each other, and there was surprise in their eyes. It was as if they did not expect to meet each other here. "What a coincidence, the crown prince is also here," the son of war said with a smile. Xia Jiulong was nonchalant, as if he didn't care about the 2 of them at all. He only nodded calmly as a greeting. There were also 4 jars of drunken immortal wine on their table. Xian Xiu sat opposite Xia Jiulong, and his sword was placed on the corner of the table to his right. When he saw the son of war and Yi Qing Han enter Yunduan restaurant, his large hand involuntarily gripped the divine sword. Xia Jiulong shook his head gently, indicating for Xian Xiu not to act recklessly here. Only then did Xian Xiu slowly put down the divine sword. The son of war looked back at Yi Qing Han, as though he was seeking his opinion. However, Yi Qing Han did not want to retreat either. If he retreated now, wouldn't that mean that he was afraid of Xia Jiulong? "Since we're here, let's take things as they come. I would like to try Yunduan restaurant's snowy arowana," Yi Qing Han said with a smile. After saying that, Yi Qing Han came to a table in front of Xia Jiulong's table. It was also by the window, and one could see half of the manor. The nearby mountains and rivers could be seen. It was as beautiful as a fairyland. Yi Qing Han did not choose to have his back facing Xia Jiulong. Instead, he chose to face him. As soon as they sat down, their gazes met. Sparks flew, and killing intent was unconcealed. The son of war sat on Yi Qing Han's left, and Lin Shui sat on his right. Zhang Jiuxiao sat between Yi Qing Han and Xia Jiulong, blocking their line of sight. Zhang Jiuxiao felt goosebumps all over his body from their stares. He felt uncomfortable. "Calm down. Don't worry about their gazes. They won't be able to fight in Yunduan restaurant," the son of war reminded him expressionlessly. Zhang Jiuxiao smiled bitterly. He was not some legendary level. Who could stand being stared at by the crown prince like this? "Little Shui, my dear niece, shall I make a bowl with you?" Zhang Jiuxiao smiled awkwardly. Lin Shui did not answer. Instead, she looked at Yi Qing Han. Seeing Yi Qing Han nod, she moved her chair to Yi Qing Han's side, leaving more than half of the space for Zhang Jiuxiao. Zhang Jiuxiao quickly pulled his chair to Yi Qing Han's right side. This way, Yi Qing Han and Xia Jiulong's line of sight was unobstructed. Xia Jiulong was all smiles. There was a knife hidden in his smile. It looked like a smile, but it made one's hair stand on end. "Sect Master Yi, what a coincidence. We meet again. Come, let's have a drink across the table," Xia Jiulong said with a smile as he raised his wine cup. Yi Qing Han took out the drunken immortal wine, poured a bowl of wine, and replied with a fake smile, "It's my honor to be toasted by the crown prince. I'll drink this bowl first as a sign of respect." With that, Yi Qinghan drank the entire bowl of drunken immortal wine. Heat surged into his limbs and bones. The burning and tearing sensation came again. His mind was in turmoil. However, it was much better than last time. It did not affect his combat power. Instead, it made his blood boil, and his combat power increased. Xia Jiulong did not show any weakness. He drank the entire bowl of drunken immortal wine. After a while, 4 plates of fish were served. They were all snowy arowana. They were about twice the size of a chopstick. The 4 beautiful maids said respectfully, "Sir, please enjoy. If you have any special needs, just come. I'll be there at your beck and call." The aroma wafted into their noses. It was hot and appetizing. Yi Qinghan placed the largest plate of snowy arowana next to Lin Shui. He said gently, "Little Shui, eat as much as you want. There's more after you finish. You're still young. Don't drink wine. Eat more fish." Lin Shui pursed her lips and nodded. She quickly ate a few mouthfuls of fish. Then, she ate faster and faster. It was as if she had not eaten for hundreds of years. The son of war looked at Lin Shui and sighed, "It seems like this child has suffered a lot." Yi Qinghan clenched his fists and said in a low voice, "This is my fault. I promised her elders that I would take good care of her. If anything happens to her, I don't know how to explain it." Lin Shui just lowered her head and ate the fish. Tears fell as she ate. Yi Qinghan lowered his head and removed all the bones from the snowy arowana on his plate. He placed all the fat fish on Lin Shui's plate and wiped her tears with a handkerchief. He said dotingly, "Don't cry. I will arrange for people to take care of you in the future. I won't let anyone bully you anymore." The son of war smiled. He removed all the bones from his snowy arowana and pushed the plate in front of Lin Shui. He called for a maid and said, "Give us 4 more snowy arowana. Add a few more of your best dishes. Also, give me a pot of tea for this child." "I'm sorry, my lord. You should know the rules of Yunduan restaurant. The snowy arowana is limited. Each person is only allowed to eat 1 fish per day." The maid replied respectfully. The son of war waved his hand and took out a glittering golden plate. On it was engraved the word war. He casually tossed it to the maidservant and said, "Take this to your boss. He knows what to do." After the maid left, the 3rd floor quieted down. However, at this moment, Lin Shui's qi and blood surged. Her aura was majestic and her eyes flashed like stars. It was as if her entire body was a star. It was so dazzling. Xia Jiulong's eyes flashed. He grabbed the 9-dragon fan and locked his gaze on Lin Shui. Chapter 1962. Perhaps because Shui Lin ate 3 portions of snow dragon fish, her bloodline was stimulated. Her noble blood was awakened and her aura was boundless. Her body was as bright as the stars. Xia Jiulong immediately locked onto Shui Lin. His eyes were filled with doubt but he couldn't confirm it. However, his hand was already holding onto the 9-dragon fan, ready to attack at any moment. Yi Qinghan and the son of battle looked at Xia Jiulong at the same time. They could see that he was ready to attack and were even more vigilant. Shui Lin didn't notice the changes in her body. She only knew that there was a warm current flowing in her body. Her cultivation level was climbing, instantly reaching Sector Lord level 7 and then Sector Lord level 8. It didn't stop there and was about to reach Sector Lord level 9 or even perfection. Even Yi Qinghan was shocked by the speed of his advancement. Who is she?" the son of battle murmured. Yi Qinghan felt a flash of lightning. He suddenly felt that Shui Lin's current situation was familiar but he didn't know where he had seen it before. "Sect leader Yi, who is this child?" Xia Jiulong stared at Shui Lin and asked in a low voice. Yi Qinghan immediately looked up at Xia Jiulong and pretended to be calm. This is my niece. It's just that her body is a bit special. Crown Prince, please don't be too vigilant. But Xia Jiulong didn't believe him. He looked at Shui Lin more and more suspiciously. Hua! Xia Jiulong opened the 9-dragon fan and gently waved it. He looked dignified and extraordinary. His eyes were like lightning as if he wanted to see through Shui Lin's nature. But moments later, the warm current in Shui Lin's body disappeared as if it was absorbed by her body and bloodline. Everything returned to normal as if nothing had happened. Shui Lin continued to eat the snow dragon fish. Her cultivation level charged to Sector Lord level 9, heading straight for perfection. Yi Qinghan was dumbfounded. Yi Qinghan didn't dare to let her eat more snow dragon fish. He took the plate to the side and smiled. Little Shui, let's eat something else first before we eat more snow dragon fish. Lin Shui smacked her lips and reluctantly looked at the snow dragon fish on the plate. She only stopped looking after Yi Qinghan took it away. Soon, the maid brought over 4 plates of snow arowana and a few side dishes. Yi Qinghan did not dare to let Shui Lin drink the immortal brew, so he placed tea and side dishes in front of her. The 4 of them ate in silence, preparing to quickly finish their meal and leave. Xia Jiulong's gaze was too terrifying, as if he was ready to attack at any moment. Xian Xiu glanced at Shui Lin and said telepathically, Your Highness, that girl is strange. Should we capture her first? Xia Jiulong nodded and replied in a low voice, I know there's something wrong with her. Her bloodline isn't normal, but I'm afraid it won't be easy to catch her. I can win if the Son of War and Yi Qinghan team up, but it's too destructive and will cause trouble. Let's wait until we get out of Shuijia Pass. Because something happened to Shui Lin, Yi Qinghan did not dare to stay in Cloud Tower any longer. He hastily ate a meal and only drank a small portion of the immortal wine before putting it away. Let's go back first. Yi Qinghan stood up and said. The 4 of them left Cloud Tower under Xia Jiulong's gaze and quickly left the water manor. Xia Jiulong watched the 4 of them leave and thought to himself. After a long while, he said indifferently, this girl should be the orphan of the royal family of the Daluo astral realm. I hope I'm wrong, but I'd rather kill the wrong person than let her go. Xian Xiu, mobilize the blood strike guards and capture this girl alive at all costs. If she really is the orphan of the Daluo astral realm, the star chessboard is very likely in her hands. Your Highness, Fan Yin is still with them. I'm afraid the blood strike guards alone will not be able to take this girl away from her, Xian Xiu replied respectfully. Xia Jiulong shook his head and said, You don't have to worry about Fan Yin. Once they leave Shuijia Pass, I will lure her away. Yes, Your Highness. Xian Xiu replied solemnly. Crack. Xia Jiulong gently clenched his fist and smiled. He said confidently, As long as I get the star chessboard and it supports my star art, no one in the world will be my match. Yi Qinghan already had a premonition that Xia Jiulong would definitely make a move on Lin Shui. The pressure in his heart multiplied. Is the man with the 9 stars alignment in the sealed sky prison Lin Shui's elder? That person has stars on his back. When Lin Shui's bloodline was awakened, she had a similar temperament to that man. Perhaps they really are related. Yi Qinghan muttered to himself. He wasn't very sure. The 4 of them sped up and appeared in the Drunken Immortal residence an hour later. In the Drunken Immortal residence, Fan Yin was drinking to her heart's content. She seemed to be a drunkard. Lin Wuqian and the others felt their scalps go numb when they saw her drinking. Where's that little bastard Yi Qinghan? Fan Yin's eyes were red from drinking. She wanted to find an excuse to teach Yi Qinghan a lesson, but she didn't see him for a long time. She was going crazy. She glanced at everyone with a frightening gaze and asked in a muffled voice. At this moment, Yi Qinghan appeared in the Drunken Immortal residence with Lin Shui, the Son of War, and Zhang Jiuxiao. Senior sister, let's stop drinking. Can we set off today and return to the insane sex camp immediately? Yi Qinghan quickly appeared on the third floor and asked in a low voice. Fan Yin looked at Yi Qinghan in confusion. She raised her eyebrows and asked, why? I'm not in a hurry. Why are you in a hurry? Yi Qinghan pulled Lin Shui over and said in a low voice, because of her, Xia Jiulong is very interested in her. He's even prepared to make a move in the cloud tower of the Water Manor. It seems like he's determined to get her. Fan Yin looked at Lin Shui. She was 14 or 15 years old and still looked very young. Her spiritual aura was overwhelming. Looking at her always felt like looking at the stars, the sun, and the moon. Even if that special bloodline didn't explode, as long as one was a master, one could clearly feel it from far away. Hey, where did this little girl come from? This bloodline looks very familiar. Fan Yin reached out to touch Lin Shui's face. Her eyes were shining like a pervert. Lin Shui was so scared that she quickly hid behind Yi Qinghan. She secretly looked at Fan Yin with her big watery eyes. Come here and let me take a look. Don't be afraid. I'm a good person. Fan Yin deliberately smiled, but her smile was creepy. Little Shui, don't be afraid. She's my senior sister. Yi Qinghan comforted her in a low voice. Only then did Lin Shui walk out from behind Yi Qinghan and give her little hand to Fan Yin. Fan Yin reached out to hold Lin Shui's wrist. Her spiritual consciousness wandered and saw that her body was like stars. Especially her sea of consciousness, which was as vast as the starry sky. She immediately withdrew her hand and looked at Yi Qinghan in surprise. Where did you find this little girl? Many years ago, I sealed her in the divine dragon cauldron in the land of the 9 states, but she broke free on her own. She ran into the outside world and wandered around for many years. Today, I accidentally found her again. Senior sister, you must help me keep her identity a secret, Yi Qinghan said in a pleading tone. Pa! Fan Yin jumped up and slapped Yi Qinghan on the head. She hurriedly said, hurry up and leave. If you don't leave now, it will be too late. That idiot Xia Jiulong will definitely send masters to help. I may not be able to protect you. After saying that, the group no longer spoke. They even abandoned the things in the backyard. Old man, remember today's bill. I'll pay you the next time you come. Fan Yin came to the front desk and left with the group of juniors. Chapter 1963. Yi Qinghan and the others didn't hesitate any longer. After leaving Drunken Immortal Tavern, they ignored the Situ clan's invitation and left Snow Jia Pass immediately. Just as they left, a figure appeared on the walls of Snow Jia Pass. He looked down at the departing figures with a fierce glint in his eyes. His dragon robes fluttered in the wind, and his aura soared to the heavens. Yi Qinghan, you won't be able to escape from my grasp. There are endless mountains and rivers under the heavens, and all living things are my slaves. How dare an ant like you defile my majesty? If you want to play, I'll play with you. However, the game has begun, and it's not up to you to stop it. Xia Jiulong clenched his fists and stepped into the air, disappearing in a flash. Xian Xiu had the crown prince's decree and mobilized the blood strike guards in Snow Jia Pass. They were the hidden experts of the sacred nation, and couldn't be used unless absolutely necessary. There were only 3 people in the world who could use them, the sacred nation's sacred lord, the sacred nation's emperor, and the sacred nation's crown prince. Whoosh! Of the 100 experts, 13 of them were at the upper realm, similar to Xian Xiu. They blended into the crowd and left Snow Jia Pass. Yi Qinghan and the others rushed through the snowy peaks and the canyon, heading south. They only needed to cross the Battle Tribe's territory to enter the Eternal Sword Dao sacred lands in same manner. However, The battle tribe's territory was so vast that it would take Yi Qinghan and Fan Yin a month to cross it. Moreover, they had a group of juniors behind them. Many of them weren't as fast as Yi Qinghan. However, Xia Jiulong appeared in front of them as soon as they were 300 miles away from Snow Jia Pass. Whoosh! Fan Yin and the others quickly braked and looked at Xia Jiulong cautiously. Xia Jiulong was all smiles. Fan Yin, I have something to ask of you. Come with me. I don't have time. Scram, Fan Yin refused without hesitation. Xia Jiulong wasn't angry. He smiled. You definitely have time. I'll give you 15 minutes to catch up. After saying that, Xia Jiulong turned around and rushed towards the Southwest Battle Race's central region. Fan Yin's complexion changed. He snorted and said, Little Yi, take them away from the War Race's border area with the fastest speed. Get closer to the War Race's bustling area. Don't give them a chance to surround you. No matter how arrogant that idiot Xia Jiulong is, he won't dare to mobilize experts to stir up a war in the War Race. Before Fan Yin finished his words, he took to the air and left. Fan Yin had no choice but to leave. If he did not leave, Xia Jiulong would at most shed all pretense of cordiality, but this group of people would have no hope of escaping. If he left, at least there would be a glimmer of hope. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath. He looked at the Son of War and asked, Brother War, you are familiar with the terrain of the battle race. Lead the way for us. We will head towards the heart of the battle race. The Son of Battle shook his head and said, Just now, the 9 Dragons Crown Prince and Senior Sister Fan Yin left in the direction of my battle tribe's hinterland. We cannot follow them. Otherwise, if we are attacked from both sides, it will be even more difficult to escape. At this moment, Zhang Zhouxiao raised his hand and said, Big brother, Brother Yi, I have a path. It's very dangerous and not suitable for fighting. I'm afraid that even if Xian Xiu chases after us, we won't be able to attack. The Son of Battle thought for a moment and asked, Are you talking about the sky-raising ridge? Yes. That place is either a long and narrow mountain peak or a cliff. We can fly for a long time using artifacts, which is equivalent to the upper realm. However, after flying for a long time, can we still fight? Obviously not. Since we can't do it, Xian Xiu's group can't do it either. As long as we pass through the sky-raising ridge, it will be my battle race's Phoenix Sun City. Xian Xiu shouldn't dare to fight in Phoenix Sun City, right? Zhang Zhouxiao suggested excitedly. When everyone heard this, they all nodded. This was a desperate solution, but it was also very dangerous. If the other party fought in the sky without caring about the cost, the casualties would definitely be very high. Seeking riches in danger, will fight from the sky-raising ridge. However, the path is dangerous. Wu Tian, take your Lil to Miss and the others and take another path. Brother Zhouxiao, accompany them. I'll take little Shui and Brother Zhan through the sky-raising ridge. Even if something happens, we can avoid a large number of experts. Yi Qinghan gritted his teeth and said. With that, Yi Qinghan looked at Emperor Feng and said in a low voice, Brother Feng, I'll have to trouble you to take care of these juniors. Follow them to Quang Manor. Once you enter, no matter how many people Xia Jiulong brings, he won't be able to take you away. Emperor Feng nodded solemnly and said, Then be careful, Brother Yi. Emperor Feng, Zhang Zhouxiao, and Lin Wutian quickly brought Emperor Yi, the Yi sisters, Sui Shuguang, Yan Yunbei, and the others away and rushed towards the south. Yi Qinghan and the Son of Battle stood in place while Lin Shui quietly waited for Xian Xiu and the others to come closer. Whoosh! Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Xian Xiu brought close to 100 experts and rushed towards them. They were not ordinary soldiers. They were invincible kings in the Middle Realm and were all experts among experts. This was especially true for the Upper Realm experts. They were one realm higher than the true disciples of the legendary realm. Even Yi Qing Han would not be a match for them. The difference of one realm was like the difference between heaven and earth. The blood-robed guards were not like the miscellaneous troops that the thousand-hand Buddha had gathered. They were roped in from all over the mountains. They had not undergone any special training, nor did they have any proper secret techniques to cultivate. In addition, they had shielded themselves from the perception of the outside world in order to avoid the divine sense of the Kuang sect. That was why they had been assassinated by Yen Yunbei in one fell swoop. The Holy Empire's foundation was unfathomable. Almost every city had a blood strike guard. There were at most 100 or 200 blood strike guards, and at least 3 to 5 of them. They were not mobilized on normal days. Occasionally, they would act as scouts and collect intelligence. Once they were mobilized, they would succeed. Shueijia Pass was located at an important location, so there were 100 blood strike guards here. Now, Xian Xiu had gathered all of them. The son of battle and Yi Qing Han looked at the experts rushing towards them from afar. Half of them could not fly. Although their cultivation was high, they did not have powerful artifacts to support them. At most, they could rely on the power of jumping to fly for a joss stick's worth of time. However, flying like this was too exhausting. They would not use it unless they had no other choice. Including Xian Xiu, there are a total of 14 upper realm experts. It would be too easy for them to destroy us. We can't fight them head-on. Let's leave first, the son of battle said in a low voice. Yi Qing Han was expressionless. He said indifferently, "There's no hurry. Let's wait for them and give them some hope. They won't split up to capture the others." The son of battle reminded him, "I'm afraid you won't be able to keep up." Yi Qing Han shrugged and replied, "I've learned shadowless cloud manipulation and have the support of an upper realm sacred artifact. My speed shouldn't be much slower than Brother Zhan's." The son of battle heaved a sigh of relief. He watched as Xian Xiu and the others got closer and closer. They were only a few miles away. He could not help but circulate his divine power and pour it into his legs. His fighting spirit grew stronger and stronger, attracting Xian Xiu's experts. Xian Xiu locked onto Yi Qing Han and the son of battle. He said in a low voice, "Capture the little girl beside Yi Qing Han at all costs. As for the son of battle, injure him. As for Yi Qing Han, kill him on the spot." "Yes, sir." The blood strike guards moved in unison. They were as fast as lightning as they pounced on Yi Qing Han and the son of battle from all directions. Chapter 1964. Nearly 100 experts surrounded them from all directions. The upper-level experts even took a detour to stop them. They were less than 3,000 meters apart. Yi Qing Han did not plan to escape. Instead, he grabbed Lin Shui. "Get on my back." Zeng. Although Lin Shui was frightened, she did not lose her composure completely. She was pulled onto Yi Qing Han's back and clasped her hands tightly. 2,000 meters, 1,000 meters, boom. Xian Xiu used the heaven shrouding technique. His palm pierced through the sky and attacked from afar. "Yi Qing Han, surrender." His roar was deafening. Anyone with a weaker cultivation would have fainted. Boom. "Let's go." Yi Qing Han stomped his foot and shot into the distance like lightning. Whoosh, the son of war crushed the ground with his foot. A deep chasm appeared under his feet. The two of them turned into divine arrows and shot through the air. "Chase them. Don't let them escape." The mystic's palm landed on the two of them, but it was only a moment too slow. Dust flew everywhere, but it did not have any effect. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, 14 figures seemed to be even faster than Yi Qing Han. They rushed toward Yi Qing Han from the left and right flanks. The rest of them took a detour and prepared to intercept him. Whoosh! Boom, meteors appeared in the sky and smashed into the depths of the mountain. The mystics group was getting closer and closer to Yi Qinghan. However, Yi Qinghan was not anxious and maintained his speed. The Son of War seemed to understand his intentions and did not use his full strength. He only kept the blood-robed guards and the mystic behind him in order to prevent the mystic from chasing after Feng Huang and the others. Boom! Yi Qinghan swooped down as if he was using all his strength. He crushed a mountain and pulled Xue Lin away again. The distance between the two parties was now about 7 or 8 miles. Under the sky, such a distance seemed very small. Whoosh, the mystic was not willing to let the distance widen. He sped up and closed the distance again. Stupid mystic. You're an upper-level mystic, but you can't even catch up to my boss. You should just find a mountain and hang yourself. The divine bird stood on Yi Qinghan's shoulder and shouted behind them. Xian Xiu and the other experts' eyes turned green with anger. In their anger, their speed actually increased by 30%. A bunch of fools, where's the strength of drinking milk? Did he only know how to sleep with women all day long? Trash. Look at you bunch of trash. The divine bird continued to taunt and mock them. This group of upper-level cultivators did not even think about chasing after other people. They only wanted to capture Yi Qinghan and beat the divine bird on his back to death. Bastard! Watch my sword! Xian Xiu rode on his sword and actually used his divine sense to control the divine sword to stab at the divine bird on Yi Qinghan's shoulder. Whoosh! Whoosh! The divine sword sped forward, leaving behind a trail of flames. In the blink of an eye, it was right in front of the divine bird. The divine bird's feathers exploded, and it almost fell from the sky in fright. Boom! Yi Qinghan suddenly sped up and dodged the divine sword. The divine sword shattered space and crashed into the mountain peak. The peak of the mountain exploded, and flames burned in all directions. The rocks pierced through the ancient trees. It was extremely powerful. Gaga, are you blind? You can't even hit such a huge divine bird. You don't believe me when I say you're trash. The divine bird sneered when it saw that it had dodged. Fuck. Xian Xiu cursed. He waved his hand to summon the divine sword and continued to chase. More than 10 people sped for 2 hours and traveled more than 1,500 miles. Mountain peaks appeared in front of them. There were no plains or valleys. They were all unfathomably deep canyons. This is Sky Pillar Ridge. Let's start guerrilla warfare and shake them off, the child of combat said in a low voice. Alright, watch carefully. Yi Qinghan laughed heartily. His figure rapidly descended and dove into the canyon. He flew along the foot of the canyon and avoided the sight of Xian Xiu and the others. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan and the child of combat fled separately. They relied entirely on speed and technique. Their control of strength was almost at its limit. They were not afraid of crashing into the cliff when they dove down. If there was even the slightest mistake, they would fall to pieces. Hold on tight. Watch how I shake off these idiots, Yi Qinghan said confidently. Whoosh! Whoosh! Yi Qinghan was practically running along the cliff. He was extremely fast, as if he was the incarnation of the wind. The wind wreaked havoc and messed up his black hair. The divine bird grabbed onto Yi Qinghan's clothes, afraid that it would be flung away. Lin Xue lay motionless on Yi Qinghan's back. She could not even breathe. There were at least 10 experts chasing after Yi Qinghan. Only 2 people were following the child of combat. They were afraid that they would lose Yi Qinghan. If they found the child of combat, they would still be able to find Yi Qinghan. Xian Xiu and the other experts were not far behind Yi Qinghan. None of them were shaken off. I'll play with you first. If you can catch up to me, I won't have legendary speed. Yi Qinghan quickly turned and passed through the canyon. Soon, he was submerged in the thick fog. However, as soon as he entered the fog, he knew that something was wrong. The insect queen had become restless and had rushed out to swallow the poisonous miasma. Oh no, there's poison in the fog, whoosh. Yi Qinghan quickly released his divine power and wrapped it around Lin Shui. He moved faster and faster. For Lin Shui's safety, he had to leave the thick fog quickly. However, the poisonous miasma was not much of a problem to the upper-level experts. They were still chasing him ferociously. I'm not playing with you anymore. I'm leaving first. Whoosh! The cloud-treading boots on Yi Qinghan's feet suddenly glowed. He used the shadowless cloud-treading skill. He moved through the clouds as if he was walking on flat ground. He turned the clouds into soil and stepped on the wind like lightning. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, Yi Qinghan disappeared from the canyon and shot into the clouds. In a few flashes, he was thousands of miles away from the group. Oh no, I was fooled by him. His speed is at the legendary stage. The mystic was shocked as he watched Yi Qinghan disappear without a trace. Use a forbidden technique. When the Blood Strike Guards take action, there has never been a mission that we can't complete. If we fail, there's no point in us existing. A cold light flashed in the eyes of the middle-aged leader. He gritted his teeth and blood spurted out from the tip of his tongue. Then, his entire body was bathed in blood. Blood escape in all directions, enter the universe. Whoosh! The middle-aged man was even faster than Yi Qinghan's peak speed. He broke through the void and appeared not far behind Yi Qinghan. It was as if he could reach out and touch him. Yi Qinghan was shocked. He gritted his teeth and fled frantically. His cloud-treading boots were practically on fire from the friction. He had already used the shadowless cloud-treading skill to its limit. Although it was not as fast as Fan Yin, it was still faster than some legendary masters. However, he still could not shake off the upper realm expert behind him. The leader of the Blood Strike Guards was an upper realm expert. If he did not have some ability, he would not have been able to escape. Uncle, run. Little Lin Shui turned her head to look at the upper realm expert. She knew the difference between realms. Yi Qinghan was an intermediate realm expert. Even if Yi Qinghan was a legendary master, he was only faster than Yi Qinghan. If they really fought, two Yi Qinghans working together would at most be able to tie with him. Yi Qinghan was sweating profusely. Suddenly, 3 green lotuses appeared above his head. 3 flowers at one's crown, green lotus immortal step, seizing the heavens. PFFF, Yi Qinghan could not use the green lotus immortal steps seizing the heavens. He could only use his blood essence to support it. He exhausted his own essence and spat out a mouthful of blood. His body felt as if it had been hollowed out. Carrying Lin Shui on his back, he crashed to the ground. Chapter 1965. Yi Qinghan leaped tens of thousands of miles, using the Green Lotus celestial steps and shadowless cloud to reach the pinnacle. It was definitely faster than Fanin's peak speed. However, his divine power was depleted, so he lost control in the air and crashed to the ground. Boom! Whoosh, whoosh! Yi Qinghan's body was covered in flames. He fell like a meteor and could be seen clearly within 100 miles. Star twining vine, wrap around little snow. Yi Qinghan was shocked. It was thousands of meters high. Even his absolute saint body might not be able to withstand it. If Shui Lin fell, she would definitely die. Whoosh! The countless vines of the star twining vine wrapped around Yi Qinghan and Lin Shui, forming a huge ball. The flames burned the vines, and the vines started burning. Boom boom boom. The shockwaves hit the ground and swept through the mountains and rivers. All the adventurers within 100 miles looked up at the sky with shock in their eyes. Bang! The distance of thousands of meters was covered in the blink of an eye. The vines of the star twining vine were the first to bear the brunt of the impact. The vines shattered into pieces and scattered in all directions. Boom! Yi Qinghan placed his hands on the ground, using little snow on his back as a shield, completely blocking the force of the impact. The ground had been smashed apart, leaving behind a shocking crater that was dozens of meters deep. Crack! Ah! The sound of broken bones and shrill screams echoed in the pit for a long time. Uncle, are you okay? Lin Shui climbed up in a panic and asked anxiously. Yi Qinghan grimaced in pain. Tears fell uncontrollably from his eyes. His body was covered in blood. His divine body was broken. He had almost become the first legendary expert in history to fall to his death. His name would be forever recorded in the annals of history. I'm fine. I won't die. Let me recover my cultivation first. It's not safe here. After saying that, Yi Qinghan quickly took out a few sacred medicines. They were all sacred medicines from the eternal underground palace. Their recovery abilities were far superior to other sacred medicines of the same level. Crack crack. The broken bones were quickly repaired, and divine radiance bathed the entire crater. It was as if a treasure had appeared. At this moment, the adventurers in the surroundings continuously rushed over, wanting to see what kind of treasure had fallen. They were even more surprised and excited and they saw the divine light shooting up into the sky from the deep pit. Ha ha ha, it's really a holy treasure. We're rich. Once we get this deal, we'll be able to enjoy life. We'll be able to buy a small city and become our free kings. The burly men shouted excitedly. In the deep pit, Shui Lin's expression changed abruptly. Seeing that Yi Qinghan was still recovering from his injuries, she became even more anxious. This was because most of the people who were adventuring in this dangerous place were of the lower plane. She would not be a match for any one of them. Don't panic. With this divine bird here, no one can do anything to us. The divine bird jumped out and said proudly. Do you know how to fight? Shui Lin asked suspiciously. The heavenly bird widened its eyes and was speechless. In terms of combat power, it couldn't even defeat Shui Lin, but did it really need to rely on its fists to fight? Just its mouth alone was enough. Whoosh! At this moment, a rope fell from the ground, followed by a hurried voice. You guys hold the rope. I'll go down and take a look. We'll split the treasure equally. A low and powerful voice echoed in the deep pit. Okay. A few more voices intertwined. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Soil fell and sand and stones flew everywhere. A lower plane master was moving down the rope. Lowly ant, how dare you trespass on this god's place of cultivation? Do you want to die? A majestic aura shot out from the ground, soaring into the galaxy and suppressing the heavens, wanting to break through the shackles of heaven and earth. Underground, Yi Qinghan was still recovering from his injuries and recovering his divine power. He had not even recovered 10% of his strength, so it was impossible for him to threaten the adventurers at the top. At this moment, Shui Lin looked at the divine bird in surprise. She found that its pores were open, and its majestic aura was even stronger, as if it was a real peerless master. The divine bird had not learned anything in all these years, but it had learned how to make a fuss from Yi Qinghan. It was very good at showing off. The adventurers at the top were frightened by the aura and voice. The big man who had entered the deep pit quickly shouted, "Pull me up, there's a master inside." Whoosh! The adventurer quickly pulled the big man out of the crater and knelt as he said in fear, "Supreme Sovereign, this brat didn't know that you were here. I hope that you are a great person and will forgive this lowly person. We will leave immediately." Scram! The divine bird's voice was deep and majestic. It was 90% similar to Yi Qinghan's voice, and its aura was almost the same. Whoosh! The adventurers on the ground were shocked. They rolled and crawled out of the valley. After a long time, there was no more sound from above. The divine bird glanced at Xue Lin arrogantly. It raised its eyes, as if provoking Xue Lin. Little girl, when this divine bird was roaming the world, you were still in liquid form. How dare you doubt this divine bird's ability? How childish, the divine bird said proudly. Xue Lin's thin lips moved. She was stunned and did not know what to say. At this time, Yi Qinghan's aura was slowly rising. After recovering 30% of his strength, he took 2 sacred elixirs. His strength was majestic and roaring, like the sea going out of control. His dry golden body suddenly became turbulent. As the saying goes, there can be no construction without destruction. Yi Qinghan emptied his body this time. Not only did it not leave behind any sequelae, it even improved. Whoosh! After an hour, Yi Qinghan had recovered 70% of his strength. However, it was an obvious improvement from his previous 70% strength. Let's go. Yi Qinghan glared at Yi Qinghan. He stretched out his hand and pulled Xue Lin out of the deep pit. The spiritual energy on the ground was much denser than in the deep pit. It automatically surged into Yi Qinghan's body, and his recovery speed was much faster. Yi Qinghan scanned his surroundings. When he saw that the mystic cultivators had not yet caught up, he sat cross-legged on the ground again and absorbed the 2 sacred elixirs. His entire body was bathed in sacred light. Spiritual energy surged, forming the 8 trigrams. A huge green lotus appeared behind him, accelerating his absorption of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth and the essence of the sun and moon. Whoosh! In an instant, Yi Qinghan had recovered 80% of his strength. It was almost equivalent to his previous peak strength. Crack! The broken bones were successfully condensed again. However, because too much essence had been condensed, Yi Qinghan did not seem to have grown taller. Instead, he seemed to have grown shorter by about a centimeter. However, he was now 2 centimeters shorter, which made him look more balanced. If Yi Qinghan was said to be in the lower 9 paths the day before, he was now at least in the lower 7 paths. If he reached his peak strength, he would at least be in the 6th path. He had advanced by 3 small realms in one go. Boom! Yi Qinghan's aura surged like an eagle soaring into the sky. Waves of energy surged. Even from 100 miles away, one could see the surging mountains and rivers. Ah, Yi Qinghan could not vent his boundless strength. He stood up and roared, his aura soaring to the heavens. Boom! Yi Qinghan clenched his iron fist and punched at a distant mountain. The mountain, which was dozens of meters away, was directly smashed through, and the mountain shifted by several inches. There can be no construction without destruction. He had to fight to live through death. The explosive power and potential he had produced were much greater than what he had achieved after 30 to 50 years of bitter cultivation. However, there were no benefits to digging out one's potential like this. It could disappear at any time. His vigorous face emitted a divine glow. Golden light flowed through his body, making him look like a precious immortal medicine. Every inch of his skin was priceless. Yi Qinghan's eyes were even more dazzling than the stars. His gaze swept past the mountains and rivers. He saw the mystic rapidly approaching. Not only did he have no intention of retreating, he even wanted to fight. Star-twisting vine, multicolored snake, divine bird, take little snow and leave this place. I'll deal with Xia Jiulong's #1 follower, Yi Qinghan said confidently. Chapter 1966. The divine bird, the star-twisting vine, and the colorful snake quickly took Lin Shui away, leaving Yi Qinghan alone in the huge valley to wait for Xian Xiu's arrival. Yi Qinghan knew how powerful Xian Xiu was. Even an emperor was no match for him. Xian Xiu's strength was in the upper realm. In terms of individual combat strength, he was probably much stronger than an ordinary legendary expert. After all, he was in the upper realm. However, Yi Qinghan was not afraid at all. Instead, he was very excited. His fighting spirit was strong as he looked expectantly at Xian Xiu, who was rushing over. Whoosh! A strong wind blew, causing his battle robe to flutter. Yi Qinghan closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Then, he opened his eyes and stretched his body. His bones emitted crisp sounds, and the treasure light became even stronger. Whoosh, boom. Xian Xiu rode the wind and broke through the waves. In the blink of an eye, he stepped into the valley. His eyes were filled with disbelief as he stared at Yi Qinghan. He asked suspiciously, Yi Qinghan, what demonic technique did you use just now? How did you run so far in an instant? Yi Qinghan smiled faintly and patted his cloud manipulation boots. He said, Shadowless cloud manipulation, this upper sacred artifact cloud manipulation boots, and I used up all my divine power. The effect is not bad. However, you are persistent enough. You chased me for 2 hours and still gave chase. How much divine power do you have left? Do you want me to give you an hour's advantage and let you rest for a while before continuing? Xian Xiu took a deep breath and said in a muffled voice, There's no need. I'm in the upper realm after all. Leaving 50% of my strength is enough to deal with you. What big words. I'll give you 3 moves. Yi Qinghan gestured disdainfully with his hand. Arrogant brat. Do you really think that you can ignore the heroes of the world just because you can withstand 3 moves from His Highness? His Highness only used 10% of his strength when fighting you. Today, I'll teach you how to behave. Xian Xiu roared angrily as he unsheathed his divine sword. Sword light shot out in all directions. The divine sword whistled, and sword chi filled the air. Xian Xiu drew his sword and moved in all directions, forming 4 hard blades that stabbed Yi Qinghan in all directions. Crack! Yi Qinghan did not even want to use his weapon. Furthermore, Berserk had yet to take form, so he directly used his fists, pouring out divine power from his palms. Boom! Yi Qinghan instantly shattered the 3 illusory sword shadows and reached out to slap Xian Xiu's divine sword. Boom! Whoosh! His divine energy radiated in all directions and blocked the tip of the divine sword. However, it was as if the divine sword had struck the heavens and was unable to move an inch forward. Crack, crack, crack. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The mountain rocks beneath Yi Qinghan and Xian Xiu's feet crumbled. Soil splattered everywhere, and waves of air swept up wild grass in all directions. The mystic was shocked. He did not expect that half of his strength would be blocked by Yi Qinghan's bare hands. He was instantly enraged. Brat, you've gone too far. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Xian Xiu pulled back his sword and raised 3 sword flowers in a row. They were compatible with the sword Tao of heaven and earth, and his battle prowess instantly multiplied. Boom! Yi Qinghan clenched his fist and punched Xian Xiu's divine sword. This time, he could not block it and was forced back. The mountain rocks beneath his feet were like rotten wood, shattering upon contact. Die! Xian Xiu's fighting spirit soared as he gained the upper hand. The great Tao of the sword's profundity soared into the clouds. The world was filled with sword shadows, and the mountain rocks were flattened. The sharp sword chi was indestructible, and there was nothing it could not destroy. Every sword shadow had substantial offensive power and was extremely powerful. There was no way out, so he could only take it head-on. Yi Qinghan was expressionless. He circulated all the energy in his body, and divine power flowed through his limbs and bones. His saintly body glowed with divine light. Roar! Yi Qinghan crossed his arms and gathered them in front of his chest. He bent his legs slightly and gathered qi in his dantian. Then, he opened his hands. The deafening roar of a dragon and a tiger sounded. Divine power poured out and rushed in all directions. The terrifying destructive power shattered all the divine swords that were attacking him from all directions. Whoosh. However, Xian Xiu's main attack was not the sword shadows, but the divine sword. Astral sword technique, 9th style, shatter the void. Whoosh. In the blink of an eye, Xian Xiu's sword had already become one with him, shattering the void. His sword aura was like a rainbow, and in the blink of an eye, he arrived in front of Yi Qinghan. As long as it pierced through, the sword qi would instantly shatter Yi Qinghan's soul, leaving him with no hope of survival. Pa! Yi Qinghan's opened hands fiercely clasped together, catching the divine sword. He took half a step back, leaned forward slightly, and tore the divine sword apart. Stick technique. Return technique. Tremor technique. Yi Qinghan quickly twisted his body, absorbing all the power from Xian Xiu's sword into his body. With a light shake of his arm, the divine sword shook violently and almost broke. Buzz! Back off! Yi Qinghan returned all the energy he had absorbed back to Xian Xiu. Adding 70% of his own strength, Yi Qinghan fiercely pushed the divine sword away. The energy surged through the air like an undercurrent and smashed into Xian Xiu's chest. Boom boom boom. Pft. Xian Xiu did not expect Yi Qinghan to be so powerful. He only had 50% of his strength left, and Yi Qinghan's attack sent him flying, coughing up blood. His eyes were filled with blood as he crashed into the ground in the distance. Impossible. How long has it been? Your 10-character sutra has actually reached such a level. Xian Xiu roared in indignation. A Xian Xiu with 50% of his strength is only a so-so. Even if you were at your peak, I would still be able to win. You must remember that nothing is impossible in this world. I am talented and intelligent, favored by the heavens. Help me pass a message to Xia Jiulong. 10,000 years later, I will definitely sweep through the younger generation, including Xia Jiulong. Yi Qinghan's body swayed, and all his remaining strength dissipated as he spoke domineeringly. What a joke. You actually want to challenge me, the crown prince? A frog at the bottom of a well. Can you survive? PFFF. Xian Xiu's blood boiled, and he spat out another mouthful of essence blood. It seemed that his injuries were very serious, and he did not even have the strength to speak. You don't have to worry about how long I can live, but let me remind you that you'd better not hit my niece. Otherwise, if I fall out with you, the consequences will be dire, Yi Qinghan warned sternly. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. While the two of them were talking, more than 10 figures came from afar, streaking across the sky like shooting stars. They were extremely fast. The blood-robed guards had also caught up, but they were all panting. It was already not bad if they had 30% of their cultivation left. Fortunately, there were many of them, so Yi Qinghan did not plan on fighting them head-on. Goodbye. A wise man knows better than to fight when the odds are against him. I'll take my leave first. Let's meet again if fate wills it. Yi Qinghan waved his hand. He did not want to kill Xian Xiu. There was no benefit in completely infuriating Xia Jiulong, so he turned and left. With a few flashes, he left the valley and disappeared from Xian Xiu's sight. Xian Xiu struggled a few times before standing up in a sorry state. His chest had almost been pierced through, and his organs were in turmoil. He could not even use his divine power, so he had no choice but to kneel on the ground. Chapter 1967. Xian Xiu's organs were twisted, and he was in so much pain that he couldn't straighten his back. He fell to his knees. Not long after Yi Qinghan left, 10 blood strike guards caught up. They were sweating profusely and panting. They didn't have much divine power left. They could deal with the saint, but it was impossible for them to deal with a legendary expert. Lord Xian Xiu, where's Yi Qinghan? The leader asked in a deep voice. Xian Xiu adjusted his breathing for a moment and slowly stood up. His face was pale as he said hoarsely, "Up ahead is Fengyang City. They should be gathering there. However, don't be in a hurry to chase him. Recover your strength first. Otherwise, even if you catch up, you won't be able to defeat him." The Blood Strike guards didn't believe him. They were experts among experts of the same level. How could 10 Blood Strike guards not be able to defeat an intermediate realm expert? "I know that you're all very strong, but after chasing him for so long and using forbidden techniques, it's already not bad if you have 20 or 30% of your divine power left. Even I was crippled by him with 50% of my strength, let alone you," Xian Xiu explained coldly. "How can a mere intermediate realm expert be so exaggerated? Even if he's at the legendary realm, he can't fight you, right?" the leader of the Blood Strike guards asked in shock. Xian Xiu sighed and said, "I lost half of my strength and can't even use my peak moves. He was lucky to beat me. However, I have to admit that he's strong. He cultivated the 10-word spell and shadowless cloud movement of the sky-reaching school. He's already at the small success stage. He's not much different from the legendary true disciples of the other holy lands." Many blood-robed guards nodded. Legendary level strength wasn't terrifying to the upper level, but legendary level speed was too terrifying. It was even more exaggerated than an upper level expert. No legendary level true disciple could defeat a mystic at his peak, but they could drag him to death. This was the difference. At that moment, Yi Qinghan had already found Lin Shui and the 3 divine beasts. He waved his hand and took them away. Then, he brought Lin Shui to Fengyang City. Phoenix Sun, this place belonged to the north, but it was sunny all year round, just like a paradise. The spiritual essence was rich, suitable for humans to live in. That was why this place was the most flourishing city in the war race's territory. It was even more flourishing than Shuijia Pass. However, the number of experts here was not that exaggerated. After all, this place was not a strategic location. There weren't many guards outside Phoenix Sun City. It was just like an ordinary big city. Moreover, this was the hinterland of the war race, so no one dared to invade. Yi Qinghan led Shui Lin into the city. They were not in a hurry to leave. They were waiting for the sun of battle. Lin Shui looked around like a curious baby, full of curiosity. This was also Yi Qinghan's first time in this city. He was truly impressed by the great world. Just a random city could reach such heights. The two slowly walked into the city. Lin Shui still had a childlike heart. She was still like a naive child. She wanted to buy and play with everything she saw. Yi Qinghan did not care about this small amount of money. As long as she wanted something, he would buy it without bargaining. He had become the living god of wealth for the shops around. They played until nighttime. Yi Qinghan took Lin Shui to the most flourishing restaurant of the Zhan family. They casually ordered some food and drinks. After that, they asked for 2 first-class rooms, ready to wait for the sun of battle. After going upstairs, Yi Qinghan did not go directly to his room. Instead, he went to Lin Shui's room across the street. He looked around the room and found that it was indeed quiet. The decorations were also very elegant. There were protective arrays all around, so there was no need to worry about being eavesdropped on. Yi Qinghan sat on a chair and asked gently, "Come, little Shui. Tell uncle about you so that I can be mentally prepared." Lin Shui seemed to trust Yi Qinghan very much. She did not suspect anything and said, "Uncle, I am the orphan of the royal family of the Daluo astral realm. Since I can remember, my family's guard has taken me to wander around to avoid being hunted down. I don't know anything else, so I don't know how to tell you." Lin Shui's guard, Lin Jun. Yi Qinghan naturally remembered him. He was the one-armed man he met in the land of despair. His cultivation was not bad, but to be able to escape with Lin Shui for so many years, he had to admit that he was very careful. Did your uncle Lin Jun tell you that there are even stronger princes of the royal family of the Daluo astral realm that have been captured alive and are still alive in this world? Yi Qinghan asked curiously. He wanted to know who Xia Jiulong was in the sealed sky prison. Lin Shui shook her head. It seemed that she knew nothing about the extinction of the Daluo astral realm. Then do you only have the star chessboard as an inheritance? Did your uncle Lin give you anything else? Yi Qinghan asked again. Lin Shui thought for a moment and said, Uncle Lin said that as long as I can revive the star chessboard, I will know everything. Yi Qinghan nodded and extended his hand. Let me see the star chessboard. Perhaps there will be some clues. You don't have the secret cultivation method of the Daluo astral realm's royal family. I'm afraid it will be very difficult to revive it. Lin Shui extended her hand and took out the star chessboard. It looked like an ordinary chessboard, but if one looked closely, they would find that the chessboard was like a starry sky. It used the world as the board and the stars as the chess pieces. Anyone who dared to use this chessboard to play chess was not an ordinary person. Yi Qinghan extended his hand and took it. He examined it carefully but did not find anything special. The star chessboard might be a useless chessboard to an outsider. It was not an eternal sacred artifact, but in Lin Shui's hands, it might be able to unleash extraordinary power that could destroy the world. Sigh, it's good stuff. Unfortunately, I can't use it. Yi Qinghan shook his head and sighed. The star chessboard was like the spiritual wooden sword. Without Green Lotus Sword Immortal's permission, he could not even lift it, let alone use it. Then, Yi Qinghan handed the chessboard to Lin Shui and gently instructed, no matter what happens in the future, do not take out the chessboard. Otherwise, you will be dead. Even I will not be able to protect you. Lin Shui nodded seriously and quickly hid the chessboard. Rest. When I return to my destination, I'll introduce you to an auntie. She might be able to help you, Yi Qinghan comforted her. Green Lotus Sword Immortal had the same fate as this poor child. Both of them had their families and worlds destroyed. The only difference was that Green Lotus Sword Immortal was an adult and had to bear far more than Shui Lin. Shui Lin probably didn't even know what hatred was now. Yi Qinghan left Lin Shui's guest room and returned to his room alone. He sat cross-legged on the edge of the bed and cultivated diligently. In the past few years, he had improved a lot. If he did not absorb it in time, his cultivation level would definitely not reach the limit of the same level. He could not be said to be at the legendary stage. His cultivation level would regress if he did not improve. If he wanted to do something, he had to do his best. Yi Qinghan definitely had the highest requirements for himself. Chapter 1968. The first night in Fengyang City was uneventful. However, 13 blood strike guards and Xian Xiu were gathered outside the city. Lord Xian Xiu, the son of war, has indeed entered Fengyang City. I believe Yi Qinghan is also in Fengyang City, a blood strike guard expert who was chasing after the son of war said as he bowed slightly. Xian Xiu thought for a moment and said, Fengyang City has 4 gates. According to Yi Qinghan's route, he will definitely leave from the south gate. However, we cannot rule out the possibility that he will secretly take another path. Therefore, the 4 gates must be strictly guarded. Spread out at the 4 gates and change your clothes. Watch him for me. I will mobilize the blood strike guard experts in Fengyang City to help us. This time, we must not let Yi Qinghan escape. Yes, Lord, the blood strike guards replied as they cupped their fists. Xian Xiu looked at the 13 blood strike guards. However, he was not confident that he could capture Yi Qinghan, let alone kill him. All of you, be careful. Don't underestimate Yi Qinghan. He is not an ordinary person. Treat him as a level 6 legendary expert. Kill him at all costs, Xian Xiu reminded them in a low voice. The Blood Strike Guards were very confident. 13 Blood Strike Guards were more than enough to deal with Fan Yin. Furthermore, Yi Qinghan was not Fan Yin and had a Xian Xiu overseeing him. Very quickly, the Blood Strike Guards transformed into ordinary people and stepped into Fengyang City. They each carried out their duties and headed to their respective gates. There were 4 people at the North Gate, 5 at the South Gate, 3 at the East Gate, and 2 at the West Gate. Xian Xiu personally oversaw the South Gate. After the 5 people arrived at the South Gate, Xian Xiu said to them, "All of you spread out. I will go into the city and inform the Blood Strike Guard experts. We will try to assassinate Yi Qinghan in the city." The 4 Blood Strike Guard experts were expressionless. They nodded and spread out. They were only a few dozen meters away from the city gate and could reach it in the blink of an eye. It was already morning and the sun was shining brightly. There were many people on the streets with pleasant expressions. It was rare for a city to be so quiet. Yi Qinghan got out of bed and stretched. He was full of energy and seemed to have improved a little from the day before. After washing up, he walked out of the balcony in his white clothes and looked at the peaceful surroundings with a smile on his face. Dong dong dong, a few weak knocks on the door woke Yi Qinghan up. "Come in," Yi Qinghan said indifferently as he turned to look at the door. Shui Lin pushed the door open and entered, her face full of excitement and happiness, as if she had not experienced the feeling of having a family member for a long time. Xian Shui Yi Qinghan smiled and said, "Little girl, you've already abstained from eating. Why do you care so much about food?" Xian Shui scratched her head. "I don't know. I feel terrible if I don't eat." Yi Qinghan's face was full of smiles as he walked in front of Shui Lin. He used his finger to scratch her nose and said lovingly, "You're just a little foodie. Since you want to eat, I'll take you to eat something good and see Phoenix City." Xian Xiu and Xian Xiu walked into the main hall of the Zhan family's restaurant with smiles on their faces. Many young men and women were eating there. Yi Qinghan casually found a seat by the window and sat down. Looking up, he could see almost half of the street and observe his surroundings. However, as soon as they sat down, they heard whispers from other tables. The contents were very frightening. "Have you heard? The Crown Prince of the Holy Empire and the Sky-Reaching School's true disciple are fighting in the Northwest Desert. The situation is very tragic. I heard that the Sky-Reaching School's true disciple is a stunning beauty. But this time, she was beaten very badly. Even the Crown Prince was injured." A young man said excitedly. "I heard that too." At the same time, there was a great battle at Sky Pillar Ridge. I only know that the #1 follower of the Holy Empire's Crown Prince, Master Xian Xiu, fought with a young man. An adventurer peeped at the battle from afar. I heard that Master Xian Xiu was beaten so badly that he couldn't even stand up. Yi Qinghan was worried when he heard the first news. He was worried about Fan Yin's safety. What is Xia Jiulong trying to do? There isn't much hatred between the true disciples. At most, Fan Yin is a bit of a troublemaker. Why would he be so ruthless and injure her? Yi Qinghan thought to himself. It seems that I have to find senior sister Fan Yin. She fought with Xia Jiulong for me. However, a piece of news that followed right after made him go a little crazy. A wretched-looking thin man said mysteriously. "Hee, you guys don't know the whole story, but this lord knows it clearly. Actually, there was a great battle a few days ago. It happened in the northeast of the War Race's territory. I heard that it involved immortal herbs." As soon as he said that, Yi Qinghan almost broke the table. His eyes flashed and stared at that thin wretched-looking man. However, that person didn't care because everyone was staring at him. They all wanted to know the whole story. What happened? "Fellow Taoist Li Er, hurry up and tell us," everyone said. "AI, this meal cost me a lot of money." That wretched-looking man sighed. "Che. If you want to eat, then say it earlier. Everyone mocked. Yi Qinghan was expressionless. He said in a muffled voice, "This meal is on me. Tell me about the other battle in the northeast." Li Er was overjoyed. He quickly waved his hand and ordered a table full of good wine and dishes. With a wretched smile, he looked at Yi Qinghan and said, "Brother, you're really open-minded. Let me tell you, the battle in the northwest desert and sky-raising ridge may be world-shaking. However, the battle in the northeast involved immortal herbs. I heard that the group of people were the younger generation of the insane sect. There was also the saintess of the Oshi sacred ground, Saint. There was also a man who appeared out of nowhere. His cultivation was close to the legendary true disciples of the various sacred grounds. Even the weakest of them was a true disciple of a powerful sect. Logically speaking, this group of people shouldn't be afraid of being hunted down by any small forces. Ordinary forces wouldn't be able to threaten them without 3 to 5 upper realm cultivators. However, a group of people came out of nowhere and killed the group of people from the insane sect. Yi Qinghan couldn't help but clench his fists. His eyes narrowed as he stared at Li Er. "Who did you hear this from?" Yi Qinghan asked with a frown. "My distant cousin told me. He heard it from a friend of his who was present at the time. Let me tell you, this matter is absolutely true. Everyone said that they had immortal herbs. It wasn't just one force that tried to snatch the immortal herbs. When the first force tried to snatch the herbs, the strength of both sides was about the same. However, a strange force appeared and scattered the people from the insane sect on the spot. Even the number 1 rogue cultivator, Sui Shuguang, was seriously injured and finally escaped without a trace." Li Er said firmly, as if he had been present at the time. Yi Qinghan rubbed his fingertips, unable to calm down. He asked in a low voice, "Then did you hear that anyone from the insane sect died on the spot?" Li Er drank his good wine and said with fervor, "He, I've been wandering the Jianghu for so long and there's nothing that I admire. However, I have to admire the people from the insane sect who suddenly appeared. Each of them is extremely fierce and they fought without any regard for their lives. They broke through the encirclement of so many masters and escaped. This group of monsters, I suspect that they are the hidden forces of some holy ground." Chapter 1969. There was a lot of discussion in the restaurant. They were all shocked by the battle results of the insane sect. Yi Qinghan was also relieved. Since the people of the insane sect had escaped, they should not be in any danger. Besides, Yar Sheng, Feng Huang, and Lin Wuqian were there. They should be able to survive. However, there were too many uncertainties about Fan Yin. Xia Jiulong was definitely a first-rate legendary-level existence. Since Fan Yin was severely injured, it would be difficult for her to move. If Xia Jiulong did not kill her, it would be a big problem if she was accidentally killed by someone. Yi Qinghan clenched his fists. Seeing that Lin Shui was no longer in the mood to eat, he said softly, "Xiao Shui, when the son of war arrives, stay with him in the city. Don't run around until I come back. Just stay by his side." "Oh." Lin Shui pursed her lips and nodded. She asked, "Uncle, where are you going?" "I'm going to find Fan Yin and the people of the insane sect. After making sure that they're fine, I'll come back to get you," Yi Qinghan said softly. At this moment, a figure appeared in the restaurant. It was the son of war. He was also in a sorry state. Being chased by 3 upper-level masters and still being able to escape showed that his strength was terrifying. The son of war was about to ask if there was any news about Yi Qinghan when he heard Yi Qinghan waving his hand. "Brother War, over here." The son of war turned his head and was pleasantly surprised. He quickly walked over and said, "I thought you didn't escape." Yi Qinghan smiled and replied faintly, "I was lucky." The son of war sat down and finished the leftovers. He did not care that they were leftovers. "Brother War, I have a favor to ask of you. I hope you will agree to it." Yi Qinghan went straight to the point and said telepathically. "Just say what you want," the son of war replied quickly. "Help me take care of Xiao Shui for a while. You'd better take her to the city lord's mansion in Fengyang City. I believe that even if Xian Xiu and the others are powerful, they won't be able to snatch her from the city lord's mansion," Yi Qinghan said seriously. The son of war raised his eyebrows and asked, "Where are you going?" "Go find Fan Yin. I heard that she was severely injured by Xia Jiulong. Xia Jiulong is also injured. I have to ensure her safety," Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. The son of war's pupils shrank. He said in disbelief, "Is Xia Jiulong crazy? He actually did not hesitate to injure Fan Yin. What is he trying to do?" Yi Qinghan shrugged and said in a low voice, "That's what I want to know too. Maybe he doesn't want Fan Yin to interfere in the matters between him and me. But he seriously injured senior sister Fan Yin in the Gobi Desert in the northwest. Isn't he afraid that she will die there?" The son of war knew the importance of this matter, so he nodded in agreement. "Go ahead, but it's best to be careful. There are holy light blood-robed guards at all 4 gates. The south gate is the most dangerous, so take the west gate. This is my battle sun medallion. It can command the guards of any city of the battle race. Take it." Yi Qinghan nodded. He took the battle sun medallion and left alone. On the streets, there were many people. Xian Xiu stood in and in opposite the restaurant and stared at the Zhan family restaurant. He seemed to have found Yi Qinghan's location and watched him leave the restaurant with a smile on his face. Old Song and Old Yang, keep an eye on Yi Qinghan. The rest of you, stay put. Watch the son of war and that little girl. I will deal with them one by one today, Xian Xiu said coldly. Whoosh! After muttering to himself, the Xian Xiu quickly left. He followed behind Yi Qinghan for about 10 meters, but this distance was clearly not enough to fool Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan acted as if he did not notice Xian Xiu and slowly walked toward the west gate. Tap tap, at that moment, a patrol team walked over from afar. Their cultivation was not considered strong. The highest cultivation was only at the pinnacle of the Sector Lord realm. Yi Qinghan followed the patrol team and quickly approached the west gate. His mind was spinning rapidly as he tried to think of a way to shake off Xian Xiu. However, it was impossible to shake off Xian Xiu with just the patrol team. They were too weak. Yi Qinghan scanned his surroundings and did not find a single upper-level cultivator that he could divert the trouble to. When they were about to reach the west gate, Yi Qinghan suddenly turned around and met Xian Xiu's eyes. The two of them looked at each other and smiled as if they were old friends who had not seen each other for 100 years. Esteemed Xian Xiu, it has only been one night, but your injuries have already healed by 80 to 90%. It seems like you are still strong despite your age, Yi Qinghan said mockingly. Xian Xiu's face darkened. He snorted and said, Yi Qinghan, don't be too happy. Either you don't leave the city today, or I will kill you. Is that so? Yi Qinghan asked indifferently. He looked at the guards at the west gate. Suddenly, his eyes flashed and he said, let's wait and see. I will leave from the west gate. I guarantee that you will not be able to catch me. With that, Yi Qinghan quickly walked to the city gate. There were many guards at the gate. There were also 3 upper-level cultivators walking back and forth. It was obvious that they were not ordinary people. Yi Qinghan found a guard, pulled him to the side, and whispered into his ear, the battle race's son of war is my brother, and he's currently in the city lord's residence. Don't make a fuss and take me to see your commander. The guard saw Yi Qinghan secretly take out the battle prince token and hurriedly led Yi Qinghan to the city gate tower. In the center of the city gate tower was a huge guard room. There were also some experts. The commander was a middle-level expert. When he saw the battle prince token, he immediately bowed and said, "What orders do you have?" "Personally lead a group of people downstairs and guard the city gate. When I signal you, immediately close the city gate," Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. The commander asked in surprise, "It's against the rules to close the city gate in broad daylight." "Just for a while. It won't delay anything," Yi Qinghan said calmly. The commander looked at the battle prince token in Yi Qinghan's hand and could only nod in agreement. Yi Qinghan quickly led the commander downstairs. As soon as he arrived, he said, "Close the city gate halfway. Once you seal it, you must not open it." The commander nodded and shouted, "Close the city gate." The guards were stunned by the commander's order. However, a military order was as important as a mountain. They did not doubt it and quickly closed the city gate toward the center. Yi Qinghan stood by the wall and looked at Xian Xiu and the others with a smile. No one knew what he was up to. Just as the city gate was about to close, Xian Xiu finally could not hold it in anymore. "Wait, Commander, why are you closing the city gate in broad daylight? Isn't it against the rules?" Xian Xiu held the city gate with one hand, preventing it from closing. "I'm on a mission. If you want to go out immediately. If not, scram," the commander reprimanded angrily. "I'm Xian Xiu. How dare you speak to me in such a tone?" Xian Xiu immediately retorted angrily. However, the commander guarded the city gate all year round, so how could he have a good temper? When he saw that Xian Xiu actually dared to reprimand him, he immediately roared, "I don't care if you're a Yin Xiu, Yang Xiu, or Xian Xiu. This is the territory of the battle tribe. This is my territory. Are you trying to challenge the dignity of the battle tribe?" Xian Xiu's breathing stagnated, and he almost vomited blood in anger. However, when he saw Yi Qinghan's sinister smile, he was even angrier. In the end, he could only say, "Let's go out. Old song, stay in the city." Very quickly, Xian Xiu led the 4 experts out of the west gate. However, the moment they stepped out, the city gate was completely closed. Yi Qinghan's cold gaze swept across the crowd. He stared at an upper-level realm cultivator beside the city gate. Without any warning, he kicked the upper-level realm cultivator in the chest, sending him flying dozens of meters away. Whoosh, boom. Yi Qinghan transformed into a bolt of lightning and chased after him. He punched the upper-level realm expert in the chest while he was still flying. Ah, pft. Old Song was completely stunned. He spat out a mouthful of blood essence. He had never imagined that Yi Qinghan would launch a sneak attack in the city. He had also never imagined that Yi Qinghan could erupt with such terrifying strength without using his divine power. It had directly cut off any chance of resistance. Yi Qinghan's speed was simply too fast. Without using his divine power, no one could stop his physical strength at close range. An upper-level expert of a generation was forcefully knocked unconscious just like that. Chapter 1970. Old Song felt a little wronged. Before he could react, Yi Qinghan had knocked him out. The commander and the surrounding guards were stunned. Old Song was an upper-level cultivator. No matter how stupid they were, they could tell that he had been knocked unconscious by Yi Qinghan's punches and kicks. They couldn't help but tremble as they watched Yi Qinghan walk toward Old Song. Yi Qinghan stepped in front of Old Song, grabbed him by the neck, and lifted him onto the city gate tower. The city gate tower was dozens of feet tall. Yi Qinghan stood on the city wall, his divine robes fluttering in the wind. He held Old Song by the neck and hung him in the air, looking down at Xian Xiu, who was waiting at the city gate. "Esteemed Xian Xiu, I have a gift for you. This blood strike guard is yours." Crack. Yi Qinghan tightened his grip and snapped Old Song's neck. A surge of divine power flowed through the severed neck into Old Song's knowledge sea, completely crushing his soul and suppressing his vitality. Yi Qinghan casually borrowed the power of yin and yang to devour Old Song's flesh and blood. Bang! Old Song's shriveled corpse fell and smashed into the city gate. It looked especially eerie and terrifying. Xian Xiu was furious. He looked at Old Song's corpse and roared, "Yi Qinghan, how dare you do such a thing that goes against the heavenly Tao? Aren't you afraid of being struck by lightning?" Yi Qinghan shrugged and smiled. "If I'm struck by lightning, Xia Jiulong will be the first to be struck. It won't be my turn." Xian Xiu and the other blood strike guards were burning with anger, especially Old Yang. He had been with Old Song for many years and was like a brother to him. When he saw Old Song die, his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. He wanted nothing more than to kill Yi Qinghan. "Don't be angry. It's bad for your body. Don't worry. I'll definitely leave through the western gate. You guys stay here and guard it," Yi Qinghan said with a sinister smile. With that, Yi Qinghan retreated into the tower and gestured with his hand, "Someone, help me keep an eye on these old things. If they leave, let me know." The commander hurriedly gestured for his subordinate to look at the city gates. He bowed to Yi Qinghan and said awkwardly, "Sir, when will the city gates open?" "There's no rush. Let's wait for them to leave," Yi Qinghan said casually as he sat in his chair. The commander didn't dare to ask any more questions. He was really afraid that Yi Qinghan would punch him. He wasn't an upper-level cultivator. One punch would be enough to cripple him. Below the city gates, the mystic was furious. His mind was in a mess. He had no idea what Yi Qinghan was trying to do. "Sir, he's clearly trying to create a diversion to pin us down at the west gate. In reality, he wants to leave through the other gate. Besides, he didn't bring that little girl with him. He can't possibly leave by himself, right?" the blood-robed guard expert warned. "Sir, if he leaves through the west gate, where does he want to go? He might still have the immortal medicine on him. I don't believe that he didn't take the immortal medicine and the little girl back to the crazed manor. Therefore, he came to the west gate purely as a pretense. Otherwise, why would he tell us that he has to go through the west gate?" another blood-robed guard said hurriedly. Huff huff huff. The mystic breathed out a few times in anger. His mind was in a mess after the blood-robed guard's reminder. "Old Yang, you stay behind at the west gate. The rest of you, follow me to the south gate." The mystic thought for a long time before he flicked his sleeves and left. A blood-robed guard carried Old Song's corpse away. The five of them quickly left the west gate. Old Yang, an upper-level cultivator, stayed behind to guard the gate. He glared at the city gate tower, his eyes almost spitting fire. On the city gate tower, the guard immediately said respectfully, "Commander, that mystic left with his men. Only an upper-level cultivator is guarding the west gate." Yi Qinghan tapped his thigh and said indifferently, "Light the incense. The city gates will open in 5 minutes. Light the incense." The commander quickly gestured to the person beside him. Yi Qinghan waited absent-mindedly. His eyes were closed as he calculated the time. His fingertips were constantly tapping on his chair. However, the commander was like an ant on a hot pan. If he closed the city gates in broad daylight, the city lord could remove him from his position or even banish him from Fengyang City. Fengyang City was indeed a good place to cultivate. It had a good job that wasn't dangerous. It was suitable for people like him who didn't have any ambition or were old. The commander loved his job deeply and was unwilling to leave. He had been diligent and conscientious all these years and had never made a single mistake. "Don't worry. If the city lord blames you, just say that the son of war asked you to do so," Yi Qinghan said lazily without even looking up. "Yes, yes, yes. Sir, I'm not worried," the commander said with an embarrassed smile. Time passed very slowly, especially for the commander. He felt like an hour had passed, but the incense had only burned halfway. Go down and open the city gates. When the Bloodstrike Guard enters the city, immediately close the gates. Open them after the incense is extinguished. Yi Qinghan gestured with his finger. The commander personally rushed down and opened the city gates. Old Yang rushed in and looked around for Yi Qinghan. Where is that person? Where is the person who killed Old Song? Old Yang roared. However, the commander ignored him. Although Old Yang was an upper plane cultivator, he was still a soldier of the battle race. No matter how strong Old Yang was, he wouldn't dare kill a soldier in the city. Otherwise, he would be hunted down by the battle race. It would be difficult for his entire family to survive. Close the city gates, the commander said impatiently. Close the city gates again. How do you expect the citizens of the city to survive? Do you still have any respect for the law? Old Yang reprimanded angrily. The commander was a little angry at being reprimanded. He turned his head and said coldly, I only did this because I received orders. If you have the ability, go to the city lord's residence and complain about me. Boom! The city gates were closed. Yi Qinghan was like a great rock spreading its wings. He directly jumped down from the city gate tower that was over 10 feet high. The ground shook and dust flew everywhere. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan's body flashed a few times and turned into a wisp of smoke, disappearing from the city gates. Inside the city, a small guard ran down from the roof and respectfully handed over a piece of parchment to Old Yang. He said, Master, this is what the Lord you found told me to give you. Old Yang reached out and took the parchment. When he saw a few words written on it, his blood boiled and he almost spat out blood. Idiot, I already said that I left from the west gate. You didn't believe me. Old Yang's hand trembled and directly shattered the parchment. His face twisted and he roared, Open the city gates for me. Guards! Get ready. Strictly prevent thieves from breaking in. The commander didn't hesitate to mobilize a large number of guards. Although they were a bunch of rookies, they had proper status. If Old Yang dared to make a move, it would be equivalent to declaring war on the battle race. Old Yang was flustered and exasperated. He retreated to the streets and took out a signal arrow. He directly shot it into the void and exploded in the sky. The entire Fengyang city could see it clearly. At this moment, the mystic who had already reached the south gate trembled and almost fainted from anger. Go to the west gate. Chase after him. The mystic roared. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Whoosh. A group of people flew through the air and headed straight for the west gate. However, Yi Qinghan was even faster. In a few flashes, he rushed hundreds of miles away from the city gates. Chapter 1971. Whoosh. Whoosh. Yi Qinghan transformed into a wild wolf and darted through the wilderness. He did not fly, as he did not want to expose his whereabouts. Although this slowed him down, Xian Xiu and the others had to chase after him on the ground if they wanted to find him. As a result, their speed did not increase. Instead, they were slower than Yi Qinghan by half a beat. After running for 3 days straight, they headed northwest. The northwest was desolate and had few cities. It was considered good if they could come across a village within 100 miles. It was unlikely that they would come across a large tribe within 1,000 miles. The mystic behind him led 6 blood-robed guards, all of whom were in the upper realm. They chased after Yi Qinghan's tracks the entire time. They were less than 100 kilometers away from him. If it weren't for the fact that they couldn't determine his exact location, they would have been able to catch up to him in 2 hours. That group of bastards can't keep following us. The divine bird squatted on Yi Qinghan's shoulder and looked behind them. Although it could not see, it was very sensitive and could clearly sense that Xian Xiu and the others were not far behind them. Yi Qinghan had been running for 3 days. Although his physical strength could withstand it, his willpower could not. This was already his limit. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and stopped. He frowned as he looked behind him. He nodded and said, "We have to think of a way to shake them off. Otherwise, even if we find senior sister Fan Yin, she is heavily injured. Even if I bring her along, we won't be able to contend against them. We won't even be able to escape." However, it was easier said than done to shake off so many experts. The divine bird's large eyes flashed as it inquired, "Why don't we split them up and kill them one by one?" Yi Qinghan shook his head without hesitation and said, "Impossible. I don't have that much luck. The blood strike guard we killed earlier was not on guard at all. Furthermore, I was only able to kill him at close range. Do you think that killing an upper realm expert is as easy as drinking water?" The divine bird laughed mockingly. "Didn't I think that you were omnipotent, boss?" Yi Qinghan shook his head speechlessly. He looked around and realized that there were no ambushes, so he could only continue forward. At this time, in a border town in the northwest, a woman as beautiful as a flower was hurriedly moving forward. She quickly entered the town under the watchful eyes of the crowd. Her clothes were revealing, and her snow-white thighs were dyed red with blood. Her pale face made her look pitiful. Fan Yin was a unique existence in the world. Among the younger generation, only she could seriously injure Xia Jiulong. Fan Yin's fingertips were trembling and his legs were trembling. He held on to the wall and walked on the street, looking for an inn. However, there were very few inns in this kind of border town. There was only one restaurant and tea house. Northwest Wolf Pass. There were 4 large words written on the restaurant. They were written in a flamboyant and majestic manner. The restaurant was very ancient, but it was still standing to this day. It could be seen that this restaurant had some ability. There were several valiant men sitting in the restaurant. They had unshaven beards and were wearing revealing clothes. They carried huge axes and heavy swords on their backs. They did not look like good people. They were drinking strong liquor from the northwest. The atmosphere was very gloomy and oppressive. The guests at the other tables did not even dare to speak. Fan Yin held on to the wall and walked in. As soon as she entered the Northwest Wolf Pass restaurant, the entire restaurant quieted down. Especially those men with heavy swords and huge axes. Their eyes were filled with lust as they stared at Fan Yin's thighs and towering peaks. They swallowed several mouthfuls of saliva. Fan Yin held on to the table and said tiredly, "Little brother, give me a room and a few jars of strong liquor. I'll give you the money in a few days." The waiter looked at Fan Yin and swallowed his saliva. He wanted to curry favor and agree, but those valiant men said, "The Northwest Wolf Pass does not accept credit. This is a rule that has been in place for 10,000 years. If you break this rule, I will come here every day." The waiter could not help but shrink his head. He said awkwardly, "Fairy, it's not that I don't want to help you, but the rules of the Northwest Wolf Pass cannot be broken. Do you have anything on you as collateral? Perhaps you can use it as collateral to pay for the room." Fan Yin was drowsy. She could not hold on any longer. Her storage ring had been broken and nothing valuable was preserved. Now she only had this set of clothes. But without clothes, what could she wear? "Ask your boss to come see me." Fan Yin resisted. Her willpower was on the verge of collapse. "My boss went out to do something. If he is quick, he will be back tomorrow. If he is slow, he might even be back in 3 to 5 months." The waiter replied. Those men grinned evilly. They were waiting for Fan Yin to be driven out of the Northwest Wolf Pass so that they could take advantage of the situation. "Little girl, why don't you follow me? I will get a room for you. You can accompany me and have some fun. How about it?" The leading man stood up and walked towards Fan Yin. He stretched out his rough hand and touched Fan Yin's slender waist. Go away. Fan Yin's killing intent radiated. If it was not for the fact that she could not fight back now, she would have killed this thief. Yo, you are still a little chilly. I like hot girls the most. That man did not stop. His hand was about to touch Fan Yin's slender waist. Fan Yin did not dare to expose her identity. Those holy lands might be afraid of her identity. However, in this mortal land, the barbarians who wandered the world all year round would not be afraid. They would even take risks and taste the taste of a true disciple of the sky-reaching cult. Fan Yin tried to gather her divine power. However, she failed several times. Looking at that dirty hand that was about to touch her, she could not help but close her eyes. At this moment, the waiter mustered up his courage and said in a deep voice, Lord Wind Wolf, you should know the rules of the Northwest Wolf Pass. Wolf Pass restaurant will never be provoked by anyone. Since you are wandering in the Northwest, please give the Northwest Wolf Pass face and don't make trouble in the restaurant. The man's hand stopped abruptly. He slowly withdrew his hand and looked at the waiter coldly. Then, he sneered and said, it doesn't matter. I can wait. She can't enter Wolf Pass restaurant. She belongs to me, Wind Wolf. The waiter sighed and looked at the people in the other restaurants. He hoped that someone would come out to save the damsel in distress and take out money to provide a room for Fan Yin. However, no one dared to offend Wind Wolf. They all lowered their heads and pretended not to see. Fan Yin clenched her fists. She wanted to kill Wind Wolf and the others. However, she was powerless. The injuries that Xia Jiolong gave her were almost impossible to heal. Especially after her storage ring was destroyed, she did not have any divine medicine to help her. Who can lend me 1,000 strands of faith money? I will return you a city in the future. Fan Yin looked around, hoping that someone would lend her a helping hand. Ha ha ha. This woman is crazy. A city? Ha ha ha, this is the funniest joke I have heard this year. Wind Wolf laughed wildly. Little girl, why don't I lend you 1,000 strands of faith money? You can accompany my big brother to Wind Wolf Stronghold to be the mistress of the stronghold. Ha ha ha. The few people beside Wind Wolf also joined in. At this moment, a shabbily dressed young man sitting at the corner of the restaurant had a flash of light in his eyes. He seemed to be a person who had experienced many hardships. He spent many years in the wilderness. His skin was very poor. It was dark and rough. However, he seemed to be very powerful. He seemed to be at most 18 or 19 years old. His cultivation was only at the initial stage of the Sector Lord realm. Senior. I will lend it to you. That young man extended his hand and said. Chapter 1972. Senior. I'll lend it to you. The young man who looked like a beggar actually dared to gamble. The 1,000 strands of money might be his savings. Wind Wolf glared at the young beggar and scolded coldly, Kid, mind your own business. Otherwise, I'll break your bones. Fan Yin was overjoyed. She stared at Wind Wolf and said in a muffled voice, Since you said you want to follow the rules of Wolf Pass, then please follow the rules. If he's willing to lend it to me, then that's between us. Although the young beggar was afraid of Wind Wolf, the light in his eyes shone even brighter. He stared at Fan Yin as if he was anticipating her promise. Fan Yin knew that the young beggar was her only hope. She immediately increased her strength and said, Little brother. I'm a woman of my word. If you lend me the 1,000 strands of money, I can definitely give you a lifetime of wealth. It's just a city. It's nothing to me. Then, without waiting for the young beggar to go back on his word, Fan Yin said to the waiter, Give me a room. Fan Yin seemed to have regained her vitality before death. Her chi and blood rose again, and her face turned red. How could the waiter resist Fan Yin's temptation? He quickly gave Fan Yin a room. After getting the room, he took the money from the young beggar and quickly led Fan Yin upstairs. The young beggar didn't dare to stay in the inn any longer. He also ran back to his room. Wind Wolf's eyes were filled with killing intent. He clenched his fists and wanted to chase after the young beggar. At this moment, a powerful aura enveloped Wolf Pass Inn. A deep voice resounded in the inn's hall. If I'm not in Wolf Pass, does that mean my authority is no longer there? Wind Wolf's hair stood on end. He trembled and quickly retreated. A few wolf cubs dare to challenge the authority of my Wolf Pass. Whoosh! A figure flashed and blocked Wind Wolf's path. Wind Wolf looked up. Who else could it be but the inn's owner? Northwest Wolf Pass was this person's name. He looked to be in his 40s. He had a square face and a dignified expression. He had sharp eyebrows and black eyes. His energy formed a faint energy shield around him. He was definitely an upper-level expert. He was also one of the top experts in the Northwest region. He was the king of the land. He was nothing in the outside world, but in the Northwest region, he had the final say. Lord Wolf, I don't dare. I just want to. Wind Wolf bowed and smiled. What are you thinking about? You want to cause trouble in my restaurant? Do you know why my restaurant charges such a high price? It's because this place is safe enough that anyone who wants to cause trouble here has to ask me first. Now, scram out of the restaurant. You will not be allowed to enter for 100 years, Northwest Wolf Pass coldly reprimanded. Wind Wolf and the few men beside him carried their giant axes and heavy swords and ran out of the restaurant, not daring to quibble. Although Fan Yin was in a sorry state and had almost been humiliated, in a village thousands of li away, Xia Jiulong was not in a good state either. His entire right arm was broken and there was a clear mark on his neck. He had almost been strangled to death. Xia Jiulong's face was pale, and his clothes were tattered. Even his dragon robe was torn, and he looked like a beggar. His combat strength had been reduced by 80 to 90%. Damn Fan Yin, your battle prowess has improved so much. If I hadn't used my trump card, I might have really fallen into her hands. Xia Jiulong leaned against a haystack. His breathing was rapid, and blood was flowing. He did not dare to run around now. If he was bumped into by some blind person, he would definitely lose his life here. Xia Jiulong hid in the haystack to recover his cultivation, but the speed was very slow. He had been here for 3 days and had only recovered 20% of his strength. He was still unable to recover his injuries to his previous state. Looking at the small village, Xia Jiulong frowned and thought for a moment. He decided to take the risk and enter the village to stay for 3 to 5 days. However, when he saw the stone tablet at the entrance of the village, Xia Jiulong hesitated. Evil Ghost Village, there were only 3 words on the stone tablet, but it was shocking. The mark on this stone tablet seems to have the mark of an upper level. Could there be an upper level in this village? Xia Jiulong did not dare to be sure. However, in order to quickly recover his strength, he had to take the risk. Because when he fought with Fan Yin, their storage rings were all shattered. He was only slightly better. The village was filled with hostility and quarrels. It was not like an ordinary village at all. There were constantly words like, "I'll kill you." Just as Xia Jiulong entered the center of the village, he was stared at by a group of aunties. What a handsome young man. Seeing that he's not from here, we can extort some money. Even if we can't, we can still take advantage of him. An ugly auntie smiled evilly. Not bad, not bad. Looks like he's a young master. He's also injured and not from here. We can't extort him. A few aunties discussed softly. Xia Jiulong never thought that he would become the target of extortion. Young man, what are you looking at? Haven't you seen a woman as beautiful as me? A burly auntie dragged a fat body. She was at least 200 kilograms and 1.8 meters tall. No matter how one looked at her, she did not look like a woman. She came in front of Xia Jiulong and grabbed him by the shoulder. She actually pressed down on him until he was half a head shorter. He almost knelt on the ground. Xia Jiulong's face turned purple. His gaze was vicious. With one look, he knew that this auntie was an expert. She was actually a lower-level cultivator. Even an auntie was a lower-level cultivator. It seemed that there were many experts in the village. Therefore, he did not dare to act rashly. "Granny, I'm just passing by and want to stay here for a few days. I didn't mean to profane your beauty," Xia Jiulong said against his will. "You want to stay here? Are you coveting this old lady's beauty? You want to take advantage of my body at night?" The burly auntie roared. Xia Jiulong almost vomited blood. His clenched fists slowly loosened. He bowed and said, "How would I dare to covet your beauty? I'm just a little injured. Unfortunately, my storage ring is broken. I want to borrow some water and food. Granny, please don't misunderstand." When the aunties heard that his storage ring was broken, they immediately lost interest. Especially the burly auntie who was holding Xia Jiulong's shoulder. She directly pulled Xia Jiulong up and threw him out. "So you're a poor ghost. I've suffered a great loss. Hurry up and scram. I'll let you take one more look and you'll take advantage of me. If you don't leave, I'll dig your eyes out," the auntie angrily rebuked. Xia Jiulong was burning with anger. The nine-dragon fan almost rushed out of his sea of consciousness, wanting to kill everyone. However, for safety, he had to endure. However, the aunties didn't seem to have any intention of letting him go. Instead, they surrounded him. "Does this guy really not have anything valuable on him? Let me search. I'll also search." The aunties quickly pressed down on Xia Jiulong. They all reached into Xia Jiulong's chest. Some of them even touched Xia Jiulong's lower body, scaring him so much that he almost went berserk. "What do you want?" Xia Jiulong roared. His face was red. He had never been humiliated like this before. At this time, one of the aunties pulled out a piece of jewelry from his waist. This was a symbol of status. If this was the Holy Empire's imperial city, who wouldn't kneel down upon seeing this? However, the aunties' faces were filled with joy. "This is something valuable. We'll take it as payment for him looking at us." The burly auntie patted her large chest, causing her fat to jiggle. Xia Jiulong's body trembled. He didn't think that not only would he not be able to borrow water, room, and food, but he would also lose the symbol of his status. Chapter 1973. Xia Jiulong was robbed clean, and even his clothes were almost stripped off. If not for the fact that the dragon robe was in tatters and had no value, these aunties would have stripped him of his clothes. When the aunties saw the waist, they knew that it was worth a lot. However, they did not know that Xia Jiulong was the crown prince of the Holy Empire. Xia Jiulong took a deep breath and calmed his crazy heart. He said in a low voice, "Aunties, I've given you the waist. Can you lend me a room? Come to this emperor. I'll definitely repay you generously. This little bit of wealth is nothing. Giving you tens of millions of faith coins is not a problem." Tens of millions of faith coins. The aunties' eyes turned green as they stared at Xia Jiulong as if they were looking at a treasure. "Come to my house," an auntie excitedly invited. "Young man, come to my house. I can take special care of you at night." Another auntie with thick skin winked and tempted. Xia Jiulong almost vomited when he saw all of them flirting. However, he still had to appear very grateful. He kept nodding and carefully looked at them. In the end, he found an auntie with a good attitude. At least her mental state was fine. He did not want to disgust himself. At this moment, Yi Qinghan was rapidly approaching the northwest region. However, Xian Xiu and the others were hot on his heels. Sometimes, they didn't even care about him and would just fly through the air. Both sides had reached their limits. After flying for more than 10 days, both sides entered the northwest region. Right now, Xia Jiulong and senior sister Fan Yin should be in the northwest region. It's just that we can't confirm their exact location. How should we find them? Yi Qinghan frowned and muttered to himself. The divine bird looked at the northwest region where even birds would not shit. It rolled its eyes and said, "This damned place is sparsely populated. Both of them are injured, so they definitely won't dare to enter the big cities, small villages, and small towns. This is the most likely place for them to stay. Let's slowly search." The northwest region was huge. There were countless villages and many small towns. If they wanted to search one by one, they would probably be able to find them until the end of time. Divine bird, can you ask spiritual beasts, spiritual birds, and spiritual plants with spiritual fluctuations to help? Yi Qinghan asked. The divine bird glanced at Yi Qinghan, curled its lips and said, "If there are no benefits, only I would be willing to help you. Do you think that other spiritual beasts and spiritual birds, who are not related to you, would help you?" Yi Qinghan immediately said, "Anyone who finds senior sister Fan Yin or Xia Jiulong will receive 10 enlightenment pills and 10 form transformation pills. Isn't that a great reward?" "Understood. I will definitely settle this matter for you." The divine bird rushed into the forest. Not long after, all the spirit birds and flying beasts in the forest soared into the sky, and the beasts rushed in all directions. Even the spirit plants with soul waves could spread the news, searching for the whereabouts of Fan Yin and Xia Jiulong. The divine bird flew back to Yi Qinghan's shoulder and said proudly, "Don't worry, this divine bird is not good at dealing with humans, but controlling these low-level spiritual beasts is not a problem." Yi Qinghan nodded and led the divine bird into the depths. Although there were many mountain ranges in the northwest, there were even more deserts and deserts. Many places were not suitable for human survival, so there were very few villages. Yi Qinghan deliberately left some traces to lead Xian Xiu and the others in another direction. Then, he changed directions and sped off. After searching for more than 50 kilometers, he found a village. Most of the people in the village were low-level mortals. There was not even a single cultivator. After asking around, he left. Several days later, a flying beast finally flew over and chattered with the divine bird for a while. It looked at Yi Qinghan with anticipation. Yi Qinghan did not understand the language of beasts, so he looked at the divine bird. The divine bird said excitedly, "I didn't find your great beauty Fan Yin, but I did find Xia Jiulong. According to the news, Xia Jiulong's injuries are not light. Should we take the opportunity to kill Xia Jiulong?" Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed as he thought to himself, killing Xia Jiulong is no small matter. If I did not have any power, killing him would not be a big deal. At worst, I could just run away. However, the eccentric sect is still around. If I kill him, the Holy Empire will not give me face and will not hesitate to destroy the eccentric sect. After thinking about it, Yi Qinghan still did not make up his mind to kill Xia Jiulong. He asked, "Where is Xia Jiulong now?" "In the evil ghost village in the northwest. It's about 15 kilometers away from here," the divine bird immediately replied. Yi Qinghan made a rough estimation and said, "Senior sister Fan Yin's injuries are definitely worse than Xia Jiulong's. Since Xia Jiulong is in the evil ghost village, senior sister Fan Yin must still be in the northwest. Let's continue forward and reach the evil ghost village first." Screech, the bird suddenly roared angrily, as if Yi Qinghan had ignored it and made it very angry. Yi Qinghan laughed awkwardly and said, "I only have 3 form transformation pills and 2 enlightenment pills. Follow me first and I will buy them for you when I reach the big city. How about that?" The bird was very intelligent and naturally knew what Yi Qinghan was talking about. 3 form transformation pills were enough for it. If it could transform into a human, its cultivation would be twice as fast with half the effort. Furthermore, it could cultivate human cultivation techniques. Transforming was the most important thing for birds and beasts, so it kept nodding. Yi Qinghan casually handed the form transformation pills and enlightenment pills to the bird and rushed towards the evil ghost village in the northwest with the divine bird. Whoosh, the bird sped forward and followed closely behind Yi Qinghan, but its speed was far inferior to Yi Qinghan's. The distance between them grew larger and larger. In the end, it roared angrily, thinking that Yi Qinghan was going to act shamelessly. The divine bird translated. Yi Qinghan did not want to offend the bird. If he wanted to find Fan Yin, he would have to rely on the bird. Without its credibility, if the bird spouted nonsense, finding Fan Yin on his own would be like finding a needle in a haystack. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan waved his hand and grabbed the bird, quickly disappearing into the plains. About a day after Yi Qinghan left, Xian Xiu appeared with 3 blood-robed guards, panting. Their eyes were filled with anger. Damn it, does this Yi Qinghan not know fatigue? We chased him for so long, but not only did we fail to close the distance, we even let him get further away. If His Highness finds out, how are we going to answer to him? Xian Xiu said angrily. This damned Yi Qinghan is too resilient. After running for so long, it's as if he doesn't know fatigue. Us upper realm cultivators need to rest. Damn it, what the hell, the blood-robed guard roared, unwilling to give up. The others can't keep up. Only the 4 of us are left. We have to speed up and catch up to him even if we have to risk our lives. We have to kill this bastard at all costs, Xian Xiu said coldly. Wait until I catch him. I'll torture this bastard. I'll make him beg for death. One of the blood-robed guards gritted his teeth, flicked his sleeves, and charged into the distance. While they were running, Yi Qinghan arrived at the entrance of the evil ghost village. He looked at the 3 words on the stone tablet and clenched his fists. In the end, he couldn't hold back and stepped in. Chapter 1974. Clatter, 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 Yi Qinghan stepped into the village. It was noisy and chaotic. It was like a small pugilistic world. Even the children were fighting without any regard for their lives. Bricks and wooden sticks were all broken. Yi Qinghan frowned. He looked at the villagers who were like evil spirits. They had no morals at all. The older ones were fighting with the younger ones, while the younger ones were fighting with the older ones. He wondered who these people were. Fuck, don't tell me all the evil people in the world have gathered in this village, the divine bird said in surprise. Yi Qinghan entered the village's small path. He looked at the group of people who were in a mess. He spread his divine perception outwards, searching for Xia Jiulong's location. The aunties who were dealing with Xia Jiulong were arguing over some small benefits. They were even close to fighting. However, they stopped arguing the moment Yi Qinghan appeared. Hey, another outsider. Let's unite against the outside world and take advantage of him first. The boorish auntie dragged her fat body towards Yi Qinghan. Whoosh! The other 4 aunties also followed. They were imposing as if they were about to fight. Yi Qinghan looked at the aunties walking over and said with a smile, "Greetings, aunties. I was just passing by and didn't mean to disturb you. I hope you don't take offense." The leader, the fattest auntie, looked at Yi Qinghan's smiling face and reprimanded him unhappily, "Look at your perverted smile. Are you fantasizing about us and harboring ill intentions?" Yi Qinghan was speechless. The divine bird and Yi Qinghan looked at each other. They didn't know how to refute. "I hate sanctimonious people like you the most. You look like you're all smiles, but in reality, you're hiding a knife behind your smile. You're trying to trick us beautiful women, but once you've gotten your hands on us, you'll abandon us without a care. An extremely ugly auntie looked at Yi Qinghan with disdain. Yi Qinghan was speechless. What? Are you angry out of humiliation? Have we exposed you? Are you trying to force yourself on us? I'm not someone to be trifled with. The fat auntie in the lead quickly rushed in front of Yi Qinghan. Her large hand quickly reached for Yi Qinghan's chest. Her speed was extremely fast. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan twisted his body and slid past like a loach, avoiding the woman's grasp. Please don't misunderstand, I'm here to look for someone. Excuses. You sanctimonious thieves are just like that. Glib tongues. Once you're exposed, you'll find all kinds of excuses. That's right, hooligan. He actually dared to dodge. It means that you're guilty. Yi Qinghan broke out in a cold sweat. He looked at the village women who looked like shrews. Their cultivation levels were quite exaggerated. He immediately thought to himself, why is this village so abnormal? At this moment, a few burly men walked over from the village. They looked like proper burly men. Yi Qinghan heaved a sigh of relief. Communicating with men was definitely better than communicating with these shrews. This village was built by me, and this road was opened by me. If you want to pass through this village, you have to pay the toll. Boom! 5 or 6 burly men with ferocious faces surrounded Yi Qinghan tightly. Crack! Yi Qinghan clenched his iron fists. He was so angry that he almost went berserk. What kind of village is this? Why is there no reason at all? I'm only here to look for someone. If you can tell me his whereabouts, we can discuss the money. Yi Qinghan said coldly. Who are you looking for? How much money are you giving? Take out the money first. The leader of the burly men said coldly, his voice like a bell. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and took out a large amount of shining faith money. He said in a deep voice, the young man who recently entered your village seems to be a little older than me. He's injured. As long as you tell me his whereabouts, these 100,000 strands of money are yours. Whoosh! The valiant woman suddenly sped up and snatched the money from Yi Qinghan's hands. She pointed to a house in the east of the village and said, that bastard is there. You can go find him. You stinking woman, why did you betray my customer? One of the women roared. For the 100,000 strands of money. Idiot! The valiant woman roared back. Yi Qinghan coldly glanced at the crowd. He really didn't want to talk to this group of demon-like villagers. He walked directly to the east of the village. Whoosh! Buzzed. Yi Qinghan took out the Rui bell and quickly approached. His divine sense covered the courtyard and found Xia Jiulong's aura. Boom! Yi Qinghan exploded. The Rui bell in his hand enlarged infinitely. It fell from the sky and enveloped the entire courtyard. Bang! The Rui bell smashed into the ground and shattered the courtyard. Yi Qinghan's aura suddenly rose. His aura soared into the sky and alarmed the entire village. The dozen or so burly men and shrews were dumbfounded. They didn't expect the target of their extortion to be so powerful. It's over. My customer is dead. My courtyard. I lost a lot of money. The woman from before roared in pain. Everyone thought that Xia Jiulong had been suppressed, but Yi Qinghan quickly put away the Rui bell. He transformed into a bolt of lightning and punched through the void, forcing Xia Jiulong out of the alternate space. Crown Prince, why are you hiding? Could it be that the Crown Prince of the Holy Empire, the #1 expert of the younger generation, is afraid of a nobody like me? Yi Qinghan flipped his hand and put away the Rui bell. He coldly looked at Xia Jiulong, who was floating in the sky not far away. When the two dragons met, the mountains would crumble and the earth would split. The two of them faced each other with equal harshness. Their eyes were filled with thick killing intent. Whoosh! Xia Jiulong waved his hand, and the 9 dragons fan appeared in his hand. He stared at Yi Qinghan and said in a muffled voice, Xian Xiu actually didn't kill you. Ha ha ha, kill me. He wants to, but unfortunately, he was crippled by me. I also killed one of your bloodstrike guards. What a pity. I've disappointed you. Yi Qinghan laughed maniacally. Xia Jiulong took a deep breath and said indifferently, since he can't kill you, I'll do it myself. Do you think that you can threaten me just because I'm heavily injured? Dream on. Humph, Yi Qinghan snorted. Precious light flowed around his body, and his aura suppressed the heavens. He coldly asked, Xia Jiulong, stop pretending. You're an arrow at the end of its flight. You might be able to deal with others, but do you think you can threaten me? Tell me where senior sister Fan Yin is. I'll just beat you up. I definitely won't kill you. Arrogant. Ignorant child, I'll let you see a true legendary expert today. Whoosh, the moment the 9 dragons fan appeared, 9 dragons intertwined and swooped down. They were like real dragons, suppressing everything within a 1,000-mile radius. The villagers of Evil Spirit Village were alarmed and rushed out. Damn, who are these 2 people? They're so strong. They're even stronger than the village chief, right? They're definitely not as strong as the village chief, but it seems like the injured man is stronger, the villagers of Evil Spirit Village discussed in shock. Boom, at that moment, Yi Qinghan and Xia Jiulong had already clashed. The Rui bell sealed the heavens and cracked the earth, suppressing the long dragon. Roar, roar. The divine dragon roared, shattering the heavenly river. Yi Qinghan pulled out a flame and punched at Xia Jiulong's body. Chapter 1975. Roar. Boom. Yi Qinghan almost turned into a fire dragon. His fist shattered mountains and rivers as he charged toward Xia Jiulong. Die. Whoosh. A row of tiny daggers appeared at the top of the 9 dragon fan. They were extremely sharp. Xia Jiulong waved the 9 dragon fan and drew an arc in the sky. Stars, sun, and moon appeared at the same time. Mountains and rivers rumbled as strange phenomena appeared. Starlight and moonlight shone on the ground, enveloping the entire evil ghost village. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, in a split second, Xia Jiulong actually split into 9. Each doppelganger was performing a different move. It was as if he only had 9 doppelgangers. The ultimate profound of the 9 changes of the stars, Starfall. Boom. The 9 doppelgangers sped through the air and surrounded Yi Qinghan. The sun and moon appeared at the same time in the sky. It was extremely dazzling, making it difficult to tell where Xia Jiulong's real body was. He's the Holy Empire's crown prince, Xia Jiulong. He's actually the Holy Empire's crown prince. Damn, I missed the opportunity. If I had joined him earlier, perhaps I could have become an existence second only to one person. The people of Evil Ghost Village roared in shock. Which sacred ground's true disciple is that young man fighting against him? What a powerful aura. Either way, it's not simple. How much ransom do you think we can get if we kidnap both of them? A few experts who were not afraid of getting into trouble discussed excitedly. Their eyes were filled with excitement. However, Yi Qinghan and Xia Jiulong were already fighting each other. They did not care about the thoughts of those ant-like existences outside. Both of them were in a frenzy. Every attack contained endless power. Half of the village was razed to the ground. The 2 of them fought to the top of the sky. Billions of stars shone. Xia Jiulong's divine body was as dazzling as the 9 doppelgangers merged into one. It was like a dazzling sun as it smashed down with its palm. Starfall. The ultimate profound of the 9 changes of the stars. Although it was not his strongest move, it was definitely enough to destroy a legendary disciple. Whoosh! 5 fingers fell from the sky and pressed Yi Qinghan in the center. The energy that was enough to shatter an upper-level cultivator did not affect Yi Qinghan. Hu. Yi Qinghan's divine robe was almost torn apart. He used the 10 words of the Taiji Immortal Canon to split the air into 2 sides, forming a huge vortex to absorb the energy emitted by Xia Jiulong. The vortex grew larger and larger, forming a majestic yin-yang 8 trigrams formation. His identity was on the verge of being revealed. He's a member of the Transcending Heaven Church. Isn't the relationship between these 2 holy lands very good? Why would there be a fight to the death between true disciples? A knowledgeable man recognized Yi Qinghan's cultivation method and asked in surprise. I'm going to be rich. When both sides are injured, I'll capture them and ask for a ransom. I'm sure I'll be able to earn a lot. A wretched middle-aged man rubbed his hands and drooled as if Yi Qinghan and Xia Jiulong were delicious cakes. Boom boom boom. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The shockwaves from their attack swept out in all directions, uprooting the entire house. Boom boom boom. The giant palm was like a falling star. The shockwaves spread out in all directions. Anyone within the attack range couldn't escape from the shackles of the shockwaves and had to take it head-on. This was the essence of profound. The great Tao is simple. Yin and Yang are boundless. Taiji manifests the 8 trigrams, and its power can reach the heavens. Yi Qinghan's hands moved several times faster. His legs were planted on the ground, and he borrowed the power of heaven and earth to gather it in his body. His aura was getting stronger and stronger. His palms pushed the Taiji 8 trigram seal and attacked Xia Jiulong's starfall. The 2 sides clashed head-on, and the killing intent produced shocked the people of the evil ghost village. Boom. Whoosh. The entire evil ghost village was razed to the ground, and the ground split open into an unfathomable chasm. The shockwaves from the 2 broke through the void and rushed out in all directions. In an instant, they rushed out 1,000 meters and affected the people of the evil ghost village. Many sector lords and young people were heavily injured. They coughed out blood and flew out 1,000 meters. They crashed into the mountain and fainted on the spot. The lower realm experts were too confident and blocked at the front. They were heavily injured and suffered the most losses. A few experts were directly shattered into dust and died. Boom boom boom. Boom boom boom. After the powerful collision, Yi Qinghan's body trembled. The bones in his hands were broken, and he was continuously pushed back. The footprints under his feet were clearly visible. Die! Xia Jiulong angrily attacked. His body exploded again, and his palm sent Yi Qinghan flying 1,000 meters away. His divine robe was shattered, and only the protective armor formed by the Rui Bell still protected his golden body. However, his physical body was already abnormal, so after receiving such a terrifying attack, he only felt his blood and qi churn. It was not a big deal. Cough cough, Yi Qinghan clutched his chest, and a trace of unwillingness flashed in his eyes. He did not expect Xia Jiulong to be able to push him back even when he was heavily injured. Xia Jiulong originally wanted to take advantage of the situation to kill Yi Qinghan. However, when he used his divine power again, his blood and qi churned, and he almost vomited blood. His eyes were as red as blood as he stared at Yi Qinghan. Trash will always be trash. You can't even withstand half of my strength, and you dare to challenge this emperor's majesty? Xia Jiulong pretended to be strong and said coldly. Yi Qinghan snorted, brushed the dust off his body, and stepped in front of Xia Jiulong. He smiled evilly and said, Xia Jiulong, you're just an arrow at the end of its flight. Don't think I don't know that you're injured. If you could still fight, you would have killed me long ago. However, I might as well tell you that the 2 missions carried out by your blood strike guards were not completed. You didn't take away the immortal medicine, and the Guangzong has returned to the Guangzong manor. Even if you were injured, you would still be injured. It's just an eternal immortal pill. Even if this emperor did not want the immortal pill, he could still become an eternal sovereign. He could still sweep away the world's overlords. But you, even if I'm seriously injured, would you dare to kill me? Xia Jiulong sneered and mocked. Yi Qinghan shrugged and replied, indeed, I wouldn't dare to kill you, but beating you up wouldn't be a problem. Unless you're like trash and use the power of the Holy Empire to take revenge on my Guangzhong. However, you don't look like trash. No need to provoke me. I don't need the power of the Holy Empire to kill you and Guangzhong, Xia Jiulong said coldly. Then let's wait and see. In less than 10,000 years, I will definitely defeat you. Yi Qinghan suddenly exploded and threw a punch at Xia Jiulong. His aura was like a rainbow, and his punch was enough to shake mountains and rivers. Boom! Bang! Xia Jiulong waved his big hand and counterattacked. The two of them separated as soon as they collided, and both of them retreated hundreds of steps. Xia Jiulong's face was pale, and he coughed up blood. His injuries had worsened. Yi Qinghan didn't wait for Xia Jiulong to react. He turned and left, leaving the evil ghost village in a flash. Xia Jiulong, our battle has just begun. Take your time. You're just my stepping stone. A deep and resounding voice reverberated for a long time within 10 miles of the defensive perimeter. Xia Jiulong's face was gloomy as he stared in the direction Yi Qinghan had left. He clenched his iron fists, and killing intent radiated from him. Chapter 1976. Yi Qinghan left, but the villagers of Evil Spirit Village glared at Xia Jiulong angrily. If they weren't afraid of his strength, they would have tied him up long ago. 9 Dragons Crown Prince, you should give us an explanation for what you did to our village, right? A dignified elder stepped out of the crowd. He had a powerful aura and was probably comparable to Yi Qinghan's peak strength. He was definitely an expert of the upper realm. Xia Jiulong coldly glanced at the elder and said in a muffled voice, I'll compensate you tenfold. But you'll have to wait for a while. The villagers of Evil Spirit Village were famous for being evil, but they didn't dare to be evil at this moment. Everyone knew Xia Jiulong's temper. He would take revenge for the smallest grievance. If they really angered him, he could slaughter the entire village. At most, he would become enemies with the battle tribe. The village chief took a deep breath and said in a low voice, we commoners don't dare to take too much of the crown prince's wealth. We'll just compensate you in full. I'll give you a pill. Although it can't heal all your injuries, it can at least heal about 30% of them. The villagers of Evil Spirit Village lowered themselves and didn't ask for Xia Jiulong's gratitude. They only asked that he not take his anger out on them. The corners of Xia Jiulong's mouth curled up. His evil smile made one's hair stand on end, but he didn't take the pill. Instead, he looked toward the southeast. A few figures were speeding away, turning into streaks of flame. Half an hour later, Xian Xiu and the others arrived. They were exhausted and had used up all their divine power. Your Highness, please punish us for being late to the rescue. Xian Xiu and the 3 blood-robed guards knelt on one knee and said in a low voice. Xia Jiulong's face was gloomy as he stared at Xian Xiu and asked coldly, why is Yi Qinghan still alive? He's just a puny middle realm cultivator. He's only at the 10-character formula and shadowless cloud manipulation realm. Why can't you kill him with so many of you? Your subordinate deserves to die. Yi Qinghan's strength exceeded this old servant's expectations. I underestimated him too much. This is all my fault. Your Highness, please punish me. Xian Xiu was already kneeling on the ground, not daring to say anything else. Then why did the people from the Kuang sect return alive? Give me a reasonable explanation. Xia Jiulong asked coldly. Your subordinate knows that Yi Qing Han is the spiritual pillar of the insane sect. Once Yi Qing Han dies, the insane sect's will. Yi Qing Han. Therefore, I mobilized all the upper-level realm experts to surround Yi. And yes. Insane S took. And took advantage, S, and, S, so, SSS and, comma. VE. S. S's, S. Xia Jiulong was so angry that his face turned pale. After a long time, he calmed down. He asked for the storage rings of Xian Xiu and the other blood-robed guards. He took out 1,000,000 yuan and handed it to the evil ghost village's village chief. Go back and bring that girl back to the imperial city. If you can't do this, then kill yourselves. As for Yi Qing Han, I'll do it myself, Xia Jiulong said coldly. Xia Jiulong was a man of his word. No one dared to refute him, not even Xian Xiu. Furthermore, Xia Jiulong was in a fit of anger. He didn't dare to say anything and quickly left. Yi Qing Han was moving through the mountains and rivers, flying through the air. He was getting faster and faster, and he was extremely anxious. If Xia Jiulong had suffered such heavy injuries, one could imagine Fan Yin's injuries. If he didn't find her in time, something big would definitely happen. However, there was still good news. Countless flying spirit beasts flew in the northwest direction and finally found Fan Yin's whereabouts. A powerful flying spirit beast flew over. After communicating with the divine bird quickly said, "She's at the northwest Wolf Pass. She's not far from here. She'll arrive in 3 days at most." Yi Qing Han didn't say anything else. He flew northwest with the flying spirit beast. 2 days later, Yi Qing Han appeared in a small town, Wolf Pass Town. The town walls were piled up with stones. Calling it a town was a bit of an exaggeration. At most, it was just a large tribe in dire straits. Yi Qing Han only knew that Fan Yin had entered Wolf Pass Town, but he didn't know her exact location. He could only search for her in the inns. However, there was only one large inn in the entire town, so he went straight to the Northwest Wolf Pass restaurant. Inside the restaurant, Fan Yin and the little beggar sat together. Both of them looked very serious, especially Fan Yin. Her face didn't have any color at all. Her blood was drained, and she looked like she was about to die. The most important thing was that the little beggar had used up all his money. It seemed like he was about to fail in his gamble. His eyes were filled with unwillingness. Fan Yin didn't dare to reveal her identity. Even if she did, who would believe her without any proof? Even if they believed her, there was no guarantee that no one would be bold enough to rob her of her money or her body. "You don't have any money left?" Fan Yin asked in a deep voice. The little beggar shook his head and said softly, "I only had 3,000 strands of money in total. I've used it all up these days." Cough cough cough, Fan Yin coughed lightly a few times. She was a lot more confused. At this moment, the waiter walked over and said helplessly, "Fairy, your money is only enough until noon today. If you don't have any more money, you'll have to leave the inn." Fan Yin thought for a moment and asked softly, "Can you discuss with your boss to let me stay for a few more days? I'll definitely pay you back 100-fold. The rule of Wolf Pass is that no credit is allowed. No one is an exception. Also, I have to remind you that those Northwest Wolves are still watching outside. If you leave, I'm afraid they'll take advantage of you." The waiter whispered in her ear. When the little beggar looked at Fan Yin again, there was hatred in his eyes. However, it was hidden very well. He then lowered his head. Fan Yin didn't care about the little beggar's attitude. She only wanted to survive. However, she had no money, no pills, and the poor spiritual energy in the Northwest. There was really no way for her to recover her energy. Not only did she not get better these few days, her condition had worsened. At this moment, Yi Qinghan appeared behind her and gently held her waist. He smiled wickedly and said, "Beauty, it's so dangerous to be alone outside. Why don't I protect you? I can even give you some pills. How about it?" Fan Yin's body tensed up. She jumped in fright and almost went berserk. When she turned around and saw Yi Qinghan, she was overjoyed. The temperament of a little girl spontaneously arose. "You bastard! I'm about to die and you're still joking." Fan Yin gently hammered Yi Qinghan's chest. As if she had found someone to rely on, her soul completely relaxed. Her tired soul was no longer tense. "I'm here. No matter who dies, I won't let a beautiful senior sister die. Don't worry." Yi Qinghan whispered to the beautiful Fan Yin. "I need to rest and pills. Help me pay for my room and carry me upstairs." Fan Yin said tiredly. "Roger that. Don't talk about needing these things. Even if you need my body, I'll give it to you without hesitation. Do you need me to replenish your yin?" Yi Qinghan carried Fan Yin with a lascivious smile on his face. "Stinking brat, are you itching for a beating?" At this moment, Fan Yin wasn't angry at all. Instead, she felt very happy. This bastard had appeared at the critical moment. Otherwise, she wouldn't even know how she died. Yi Qinghan carried Fan Yin and left the table, leaving the little beggar looking at Yi Qinghan with hatred. It was as if Yi Qinghan had ruined his big plan. Chapter 1977. Yi Qinghan paid for 3 days of accommodation, then carried Fan Yin upstairs and took out a few of the best sacred medicines. "Come, senior sister, take these first. I will guard you and heal your injuries first," Yi Qinghan said gently. With Yi Qinghan by her side, Fan Yin did not have to think too much. She sat on the bed and adjusted the sacred medicine's medicinal properties to heal her body, which was about to collapse. Her recovery speed was many times faster than before. Fan Yin continued until dawn, when she finally breathed a sigh of relief. Her injuries were at least 40% healed, and she had enough ability to protect herself. "Ah," Fan Yin groaned softly, her body went limp, and she did not have any strength left. Once her highly tensed body and soul relaxed, it was as if they had been hollowed out. She could only lie down, not even willing to breathe. "Go prepare some hot water for me. I want to wash up," Fan Yin said softly. Yi Qinghan opened his eyes and nodded. He immediately got up and went downstairs. He fetched a large bucket of hot water and poured it all into the bathtub. He also put a large amount of spiritual medicine and spiritual grass in the bathtub, and the bathtub was filled with spiritual qi. "Senior sister, I will guard the door for you," Yi Qinghan said softly. "No need. Use your God power to help me clear the blood clots and impurities in my body. I don't have any strength left now. Also, help me massage my shoulders," Fan Yin said. Yi Qinghan's eyes widened, and he swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He asked seriously, "Senior sister, are you sure you want me to clear the blood clots in your body while you are bathing? If you dare to have any dirty thoughts, I will cut off your position as second master," Fan Yin reprimanded angrily. Yi Qinghan could not help but tighten his thighs. He laughed and stopped teasing this thorny rose. Fan Yin saw that Yi Qinghan did not respond, and could not help but scold, "Why are you still not turning around? Do you want to die?" Yi Qinghan smiled and quickly turned his head. Fan Yin quickly took off her coat. Her beautiful body was wrapped in a layer of gauze. She gritted her teeth and endured the fatigue. She quickly entered the bathtub. Her entire body was soaked in the water, covered by the spirit herbs and spirit herbs. Only her beautiful face could be seen. Once she entered the bathtub, she collapsed and leaned against the side of the bathtub, exhaling a mouthful of turbid air. Comfortable. It's simply more comfortable than when I advanced a major realm. Fan Yin sighed softly. Yi Qinghan snickered and pulled a chair over. He leaned over the bathtub and stared at Fan Yin. He clicked his tongue and said, "Senior sister, has any man ever praised you for being a perfect woman?" Fan Yin rolled her eyes and said, "Do I need a man to praise me?" "There's really no need for that," Yi Qinghan said with a smile. Fan Yin leaned against the bathtub. Only then did her soul and body truly relax. She closed her eyes and did not care that Yi Qinghan was sizing her up. She suddenly opened her eyes and asked, "Oh right, where's that little beggar? It's all thanks to him. If not for him, I might have capsized this big ship." Yi Qinghan naturally knew about the little beggar. Especially the way he looked at Fan Yin and the way he looked at Yi Qinghan after he appeared, it was filled with resentment and displeasure. "That little beggar, I arranged for him to stay in the room next door. However, there's something wrong with this person. You might not have noticed, but he already has evil intentions towards you," Yi Qinghan said truthfully. "It's fine. He saved my life once. When I recover, I'll either give him a small city or 1 million to make a living for himself." Fan Yin sighed. If not for his 3,000 strands of money, she would not have been able to live. If she spent his savings without any return, then anyone would have evil intentions. Yi Qinghan shrugged and replied, "Senior sister, you can decide. However, I have to remind you. Don't get bitten by a venomous snake. He's a venomous snake waiting to strike." Fan Yin looked at Yi Qinghan in surprise and asked, "Why do you say that? He's not a bad person. Perhaps it's because he's been a beggar for a long time and has been oppressed by others. Or perhaps it's because he's a little xenophobic." Yi Qinghan smiled and said indifferently, "I've been roaming the Jianghu for a long time and have seen many people like him. He's not a good person and will definitely bring you big trouble in the future." "I don't think so, but I'll be on my guard." Fan Yin did not say anything else. Soaking in the spiritual liquid, her body was covered in sweat. The clotted blood in her body was also slowly dispersing. Her injuries were about 10% better, but she still did not have much strength. Yi Qinghan did not say anything else. He gently stood up and helped Fan Yin clean up her injuries. Using more and more strength, a wisp of wood origin energy flowed from his palm to Fan Yin's body, helping to heal her injuries and dispel the clotted blood. Yi Qinghan calmed his heart and looked straight ahead. Such a woman was too exquisite. When he touched her shoulder, it was as if he had been electrocuted. His entire arm felt weak. Fan Yin groaned. Her body gradually reacted. A current flowed from her dantian, almost causing her to lose control. Fan Yin immediately shook her head and secretly cried out, "Damn it, why do I have such a reaction?" Yi Qinghan smiled. Naturally, he could feel Fan Yin's reaction, but he did not point it out. "Senior sister, did you gain anything from your battle with Xia Jiulong?" Yi Qinghan changed the topic and asked calmly. "That idiot actually wanted to kill me. It seems like he's determined to shed all pretense of cordiality. However, he did help me in this battle. After I cultivate for 3 to 5 years, my cultivation might increase by more than 30%. Although I was seriously injured, he didn't have it easy either. We were on par." Fan Yin coldly snorted. Yi Qinghan laughed mockingly, "Senior sister, stop bragging. When I came to find you, I bumped into Xia Jiulong and fought with him. He probably still has 40% of his cultivation left, but you don't even have the ability to protect yourself. There's still a gap between us. However, after fighting with me, his injuries worsened. Even with the help of pills, he'll probably need 3 to 5 years to recover." Fan Yin's bragging was exposed. She angrily snorted and ignored Yi Qinghan. "Senior sister, don't be angry. Actually, I'm ashamed that you can beat Xia Jiulong to such a state. He can defeat me with only 40% of his strength. You can see his strength. Yi Qinghan smiled flatteringly. Fan Yin flew into a rage out of humiliation. With a backhand palm, she sent Yi Qinghan flying out of the room. Yi Qinghan stood awkwardly outside the door. He shook his head and sighed, "You can't offend a woman. The ancients didn't deceive me." Chapter 1978. Yi Qinghan looked at Fan Yin's angry expression and couldn't help but grin. He also didn't want to be alone with Fan Yin in the room. After all, Fan Yin's injuries weren't light and it wasn't suitable for him to tease her. However, how could he not feel anything when standing next to her? Thus, he found an excuse to escape. "Senior sister, you rest for a while. I'll help you take a look at that little beggar," Yi Qinghan said with a smile. Creak. Yi Qinghan quickly closed the door and escaped without caring if Fan Yin agreed or not. "Be polite to him. After all, he saved my life," Fan Yin called out in a low voice. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed coldly as he stepped into the inn in the front yard alone. At this moment, Lu Fengxian was sitting alone by the window, eating a simple meal. The sinister look in his eyes was self-evident. He had finally found a chance to get close to a peerless beauty from a large faction. However, before he could express his goodwill or get close to this phoenix, he was stopped by Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan had ruined his plans. How could he be happy? At this moment, Yi Qinghan walked over and sat down. He looked at Lu Fengxian and said calmly, "Little brother, thank you for saving my senior sister's life. I'll give you 100,000 strands of money as repayment for your kindness. However, you won't get close to my senior sister in the future. How about it?" Lu Fengxian's eyes flashed when he heard this. Seeing Yi Qinghan take the initiative to bribe him with money, he thought that Yi Qinghan saw him as a rival. He even fantasized about becoming a phoenix from a chicken and replacing Yi Qinghan's position. Thus, how could he be interested in 100,000 strands of money? To become Fan Yin's man, 10 million strands of money was nothing. "I have nothing to do with you. Me saving Senior Fan Yin is a matter between Senior Fan Yin and me. Thus, I don't want your money," Lu Fengxian said quietly. Yi Qinghan looked at Lu Fengxian's expression and knew that he wanted to rely on Fan Yin. Yi Qinghan bluntly reminded him, "Ha ha ha, little brother, there aren't so many good things in this world. Senior sister only wanted to repay a debt of gratitude, but you want to take the entire pot away. Isn't that a little inappropriate?" Lu Fengxian said in a neutral tone, "Esteemed lord, don't measure the heart of a gentleman with the yardstick of a villain. I'm just a beggar, how would I dare to claim connections with Lord Fan Yin? I just want to follow Lord Fan Yin. I'm not like some greedy people who like to steal everything." Yi Qinghan smiled. He naturally knew that Lu Fengxian was talking about him, but Lu Fengxian was right. He really wanted to wipe out the entire pot. 1 million strands of money. As long as you nod, I'll give it to you at any time. Yi Qinghan didn't want to say too much. He just didn't want this guy to be fattened up by Fan Yin and bite her back. Lu Fengxian saw that Yi Qinghan wanted to drive him away, so he couldn't leave. If he let go of a big tree on the leaderboard, then he would be too stupid. If he took a gamble, maybe he could become a person above others. Lu Fengxian hesitated for a moment, then said firmly, "Many thanks to esteemed lord for thinking so highly of me. I won't accept a reward if I don't deserve it. You should keep your money well. Lowly people don't deserve to have so much money. Do you know who senior sister and I are?" Yi Qinghan frowned. This guy was too greedy. He didn't even put 1 million strands of money in his eyes. Was he an ordinary beggar? Lu Fengxian shook his head and lightly said, "I'm following Lord Fan Yin, not her identity. I don't care who she is, I want to follow her. I ask esteemed lord not to make things difficult for a little beggar. Yi Qinghan's lips curled up into a cold smile. If Lu Fengxian knew about Fan Yin and his identity, then it would be reasonable for him to give up 1,000,000 strands of money. However, he didn't know. This only meant that Lu Fengxian's ambition wasn't in money, but in the pursuit of the Tao. If he had a righteous heart, then Yi Qinghan naturally wouldn't drive him away. However, Lu Fengxian's heart was clearly not righteous. Since that's the case, I won't force you. You're on your own. Yi Qinghan calmly said. Lu Fengxian lowered his head and continued eating his meal. He no longer paid any attention to Yi Qinghan. However, deep down, he already hated this man who made him feel ashamed of his own inferiority. Yi Qinghan was worthy of the envy, jealousy, and hatred of many men. This was especially true for Lu Fengxian. He had talent and good looks, but he lacked Yi Qinghan's luck. In order to transcend, Lu Fengxian would definitely abandon any bottom line and betray them at any time. Yi Qinghan walked out and looked at the small city. He felt that this city was somewhat unusual. The short city wall was made of a pile of stones. There were mountains and rivers in the surrounding area, but there was no sign of human habitation. Only this small town had been passed down here for so many years. If it didn't have any foundation, it would have been devoured by the wild beasts long ago. Yi Qinghan walked around the small town for a long time, but he didn't find any strange people or things. After pondering for a long time, he stopped thinking about it. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan left the small town and looked at the desolate land. He wanted to study it carefully, but he didn't dare to go too far. This was because Fan Yin's injuries hadn't fully recovered. If Xia Zhulong came back, he would regret it. However, Xia Zhulong wasn't in the mood to come back and settle the score with Fan Yin. He had first fought with Fan Yin and was seriously injured. Then, he fought with Yi Qinghan and was even more seriously injured. Now, he had fled back. In the imperial city, Xia Zhulong's face was gloomy. His malicious eyes were filled with ice. He wanted to kill both Fan Yin and Yi Qinghan. Mystic! Xia Zhulong shouted coldly. Here. Mystic immediately bowed and replied. Bring a group of people and assassinate a group of insane sex people. I want to see how many brothers this Yi Qinghan has. Xia Zhulong said coldly. Xian Xiu was shocked. He was indeed strong, and if he brought a group of people with him, it would be a piece of cake for him to kill the crazed manor. But now, the crazed manor was in the heaven-suppressing palace. If they wanted to cross the Sword Dao sacred ground, they would have to offend the two sacred grounds. Your Highness, this is too far away. By the time we arrive, the news would have already reached insane sect's ears. By then, they would have set up a trap for us. We won't be able to achieve much and we might even suffer great losses. Mystic reminded respectfully. Xia Zhulong was so angry that he lost his mind. Attacking insane sect from a long distance was unrealistic. In the end, after thinking for a long time, he had no choice but to give up. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.